It seems like the IPFW men's basketball team has been living out of suitcases, riding buses, and flying airplanes all season long. On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we're going to chat with assistant coach Joe Pachota and talk about the recent West Coast swing and also about a very big victory that occurred at the Hilliard Gate Sports Center on Tuesday night against IUPUI. We'll also get a chance to speak with a couple of members of the men's basketball team, sophomores Terry Collins and David Simon. Our program is called Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Mize. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I've been kidded a few moments ago by my cohorts, IPFW's men's basketball team literally has been on the road most of the season. They've been living out of suitcases, not in suitcases, and they've been flying in airplanes, not flying airplanes themselves, and riding on buses instead of driving the buses themselves. But Assistant Coach Joe Pachota, the travel has been interesting to say the least.
Yeah, it's been a wild, strange ride. I'm glad to be home and sleep in my own bed and take a shower in my own shower instead of in the hotels.
Did you recognize your house when you got back?
Yeah. Yeah, no question.
I want to go back briefly, even before the West Coast trip a little bit. There have been some tough games. In fact, I'm going to go all the way back to an earlier, in fact, the last two home games ago. Not the Oregon State game, but the game against Aquinas. Had to be the low point of the season for this basketball team because they've been playing well. Got a couple of wins, including a win on the road against Lipscomb. Been in a lot of ball games. They come home, and you took on an NAIA Division II team that had nothing to lose. And we made a guard of theirs look like an All-American regardless of level. And the bottom line, fall behind 18 points at the break, and you end up losing 84-78. I know it was tough because we couldn't do a post-game interview with any of you. And I know it was hard on the coaches, hard on the players. I know a couple of them came out afterwards, and one of them slammed his fist on the scorer's table, just out of frustration. Do you think, looking back, because we've had some tough games in, we're playing a very good competition, but briefly, let's talk about that ball game and the fact that we lost a game that everyone thought we should have won except for Aquinas.
Right. I think a game in that situation, the shoe's on the other foot because we've been in positions where, we go into games where we're the extreme underdogs and we've got nothing to lose, like you said, and all we have to do is just play hard, and the other team is going to take us lightly or take us for granted. I think we kind of did that against Aquinas. And then when it got down to it, we expected to win, and they wanted to win more. And I think that was the difference in the ball game. And then once you give a team like that confidence early, their level of play increases, and the sky's the limit. So we put ourselves in a bad position right from the start. So you're right, that was a very low point.
From a coaching standpoint, even though the show was on cable, what did you and Doug and the team say to the team after that game? I know everyone was angry, mad, frustrated. From a coaching standpoint, do you rant, rave, and scream? Do you play the silent treatment, or do you just say, guys, let's pull up the pants and let's go. We're better than that. Let's show that we're better.
Yeah, I think that was one of those things where it was frustrating, and as coaches, we were more concerned because we turned around the next morning and left for Wyoming. So if we thought Aquinas was bad, here we are going to play a team that was, preseason pick to win the Mountain West Conference. So that was a major concern for us. I don't think after a game like that, a lot of screaming and yelling would really get a lot of things done. We just tried to regroup the best that we could. We knew that we were better, but knowing and performing are two different things, and that's something that we had to do a better job of against Wyoming. Obviously we did. We played really well out there. If we would have played at Wyoming like we did Aquinas, it would have been real ugly, and that's what we were concerned about.
Well, as you said, the next morning you guys had to get up real early to get a bus to go to the airport and catch an airplane to go out to Wyoming. I don't want to start a riot or anything, but compounding the issue, tough loss, you and Doug and Fred and Cliff as a coaching staff, you had to make a decision you don't like to make, and you had to take a player and remove him from the team. That compounded the issue, and then you're going out, as you say, to take on a couple of very good opponents, Wyoming and Nebraska. When you guys were on that airplane, heading for Laramie, Wyoming, looking back now, what was the thought process in trying to get this team to get it together again?
I think the main thing that we tried to emphasize was refocusing more than anything. After a loss like that, people start to question, their abilities individually and as a cumulative group. And we just tried to emphasize in as many ways possible, on paper, on film, through words, just anything that we could to let the guys know, hey, we're going to be okay. We got to keep playing hard. In situations where someone is dismissed from the team, obviously you have somebody go down. Now other people have to step up their roles. Opportunities will be increased, and people need to step up and make some plays. And we've had some guys step in and start doing some things a little bit more and more. But I feel like our chemistry is getting a little bit better, and we're starting to come around. So,
well, you made that trip, and as you say, Wyoming, a team which would defeat one Bob Knight and Texas Tech a couple of nights after they played you. You went in the locker room at halftime, tied, and ended up losing, I believe, by 5 points. I think it was 5, maybe it was 7, 5 or 6 or whatever it was. But you were in that ball game all the way. And then you had to take a unique route to Lincoln, Nebraska, through Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And you took on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who were coached by former Butler coach Barry Collier. And you're down 2 at the break, playing them tough. But the start of the second half, nothing went right. You went over 7 minutes without scoring a point. Fell behind and just couldn't quite make it up. I think you lost by 12 or 13 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Tough games. Come back home, play at the Coliseum. Oregon State from the Pac-10, team that beat you by 22 points last year on the road. You took it to them. Game started, Terry Collins hit 2 trays right off the bat, and I think you shocked them a little bit. Nip and tuck, you had the lead. They come back, had the lead. Just under 8 minutes to go, you're up 64-60. 5:04 to go, you're down 1 point. But in that last 6 minutes and 21 seconds, no more field goals. You just made 4 or 5 free throws and lost 78-71. Great effort. It just didn't hit the shot down the stretch.
Yeah, that was the one frustrating aspect of that. What was nice about Oregon State is we did have maybe 3 or 4 days to prepare for them, so we knew exactly what they were going to do, almost to the point of when they were going to do it. I thought our guys came out and executed the game plan extremely well. We played. One thing that was nice was responding from those 2 games, Wyoming and Nebraska, and we stepped up and played more physical. We were more aggressive, but yet under control. I thought when we were out west a little bit, we were aggressive, but when we play under control, we're pretty good. And we carried that over into Oregon State. I think anytime you get in a game like that, you got a Pac-10 school on the ropes. In a program that's in a situation like us, you've got a Pac-10 school at home, and you can put them away. Obviously, we've never been in that position. There's not a lot of schools like us that have been in that position against anybody, but you got to make plays down the stretch, and that's the one thing that we didn't do. It wasn't about an offensive thing. We gave up a couple easy second chance scores late, and those are demoralizing more than anything. And unfortunately, you try and split sides of the floor, and what happens on that defensive end, you try not to let it worry about it on the offensive end and vice versa. It's easy to say, and it's very hard to do. And when it came down to winning time, We drew some things up and we just didn't come out and execute. And the shots that we got, we just didn't hit them. And it's an unfortunate thing. And one thing that was nice to see is we took that situation, and I thought we learned from it, because obviously we applied it Tuesday night against IUPUI. So,
well, before we talk about IUPUI, let's talk about the West Coast swing. I guess in some respects a nice way to spend Christmas, New Year's week in between out in California and Nevada. UC Irvine, a good team. You had a game, problem was first half, they got ahead early. And early and often, and they went into the locker room up 54-32. You had a great night from Terry Collins, who we'll talk to shortly. Career high 36 points, including 9 of 13 from three-point range. But he didn't have much support other than that. Jim Kesnick had 13. They were the only ones in double figures. Final score 96-79. As we'll talk about this game and the other two games on the trip, you fall behind early, it's so tough to catch up.
Yeah, and that's a position that we put ourselves in way too many times in the first half. Is, and we've hammered on this all year, not just in the Irvine game, but when we want to defend people, we're pretty good. And when our defense is our best offense, we're even better. When guys rely on their offense as our main offensive weapon, we struggle a little bit. And Irvine was a classic example, because we came out in the second half and it was night and day as far as what we did defensively and how our defense, turned into easy offense. And like you said, we got a big-time performance from Terry, and Kes stepped up a little bit. The problem is sometimes other guys will stand around and watch. We need to start firing on all pistons, so to speak. And the more and more people are involved, the more threats we have on the floor, the harder it is for people to defend us, because we've got a lot of guys that are pretty versatile. We've got some skilled players. And when we start understanding that a little bit more and get more people involved, not only scoring-wise but defensively, we're going to be pretty successful.
Well, again, 96-79, and then you travel down the road to a town that I want to visit someday, San Diego. Both my mom and my brother and my oldest son say it's gorgeous out there.
It's a great town.
You took on San Diego State. Again, another member, let's see, they're Mountain West too.
Yeah.
I think everybody is. Coached by former Michigan coach Steve Fisher. Team you played last year, and they schnocked you last year. And a team that played Arizona awfully tough when they played them earlier in the year when Arizona was ranked number 1, only losing 89-81. Early on, again, a poor start for us. You fell behind 25-4 about 7 minutes into the game. Couldn't catch up. Talk about that ball game briefly.
Oh, it was something where we knew, like I said before, we knew exactly what they were going to do. We knew how they were going to do it. I thought this San Diego State team was a lot better than the team last year because of their athleticism and their depth. We knew they'd come out looking to press us right away, and if it was a boxing match, they put us to the mat a couple times early, and we struggled to fight and claw back out of that hole. When you dig a hole that deep, that early, that's going to make for a long game. But, we stayed with it and we persevered through some situations early, kept playing through that second half. But they got a good ball club. But like I said, you put yourself in that kind of hole from the start, it's going to make for a long night.
Yep, you felt you were at the break, you were down 45-21. You did outscore them in the second half, 37-29. Final score, 74-58. Jim Kesnick with 13 points, Terry Collins with 10 leading scorers there. Then you traveled to Las Vegas. I'm afraid to ask what New Year's Eve was like in Las Vegas.
It was a good time.
I'm going to leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
And you took on the Running Rebels at the Thomas and Mack Center. They have a good ball club, too. I think they were 8-2 when you played them. And you played them tough. Again, you fell behind early, and that seems to be a common trait, falling behind early. And you were down at the break 41-24. Again, you outscored them in the second half, but the final score is 74-62. Quick thought on that game, and then we'll get into IUPUI.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thought in that first half what hurt us was about a 3.5-minute stretch right before halftime, where we lost mental focus, some careless turnovers that they capitalized on, some easy baskets, got a run going into the half. Second half, like we talked about earlier, as far as making adjustments, I think that's one thing that we've done with a lot of teams is playing really well for a half, and then they make adjustments. The first adjustments that we need to make are mental. And then the second one that we have to apply over to the physical aspect of it. So I thought we did a great job against UNLV when it came to that. They made a little run in the second half. We made a little bit bigger run. I was pleased, as was Coach, with our physical level of play. Obviously, David had a big night. We had a couple other guys step up and make some plays too. So I was pleased with the way we played at Vegas, how we competed. The big thing that we harped on in the locker room after that Vegas game was responsibility. Because when you play like that, now you must be held accountable and be responsible for playing hard and playing together and playing smart. And we were pleased with how that carried over into Tuesday night. So.
And again, David Simon, who we'll talk to again in a little bit, career high 23 points, added 11 rebounds, and the best thing about it, 13 of 16 at the foul line, where he's had some trouble this year.
Yeah, Dave struggled a little bit from the free throw line. It was nice to see him step up and get in a rhythm, from the stripe. I mean, when you got a big kid that's going to get a lot of touches, it's a double-edged sword. If you're going to foul him, he's going to get to that free throw line and knock him down. It was nice to see because it's going to build his confidence from that line.
Well, that ended the road trip, at least for the moment. He came home, and now we're going to talk about a very big game that was played Tuesday night here at the Harry Gates Sports Center, and we're going to see some highlights in a few moments too. I guess we can call them either kissing cousin, as we said on the air, or arch rival, IUPUI. Again, these are two institutions that are unique in the sense they're the only two institutions in this country where you have two major universities working together. Last year we went down to Indianapolis, and I remember two things about that game. Number one, IUPUI came out in the second half and cleaned our clock. They had a kid who was a junior who hit 5 of 6 three-pointers, a junior named Brian Buchanan. Unfortunately, he's not on the team anymore. And number two, it's the quietest bus ride I've ever been on in my life. And I kidded Brad Noel afterwards. I still remember this. We could actually hear his felt tip marker. He was doing homework on the bus coming home, and I'm in the front. We were in the front, he was towards the back, and it was so quiet. No kidding, we could hear that marker as he was marking some homework. So it was payback time. And again, we start out good. We had an 8-6 lead, and then we went through one of those droughts, a 5.5-minute drought, where instead of being up 8-6, we find ourselves down 20-8. At that point, what were the thoughts on the bench?
We'd been in those type of situations before. It wasn't like we were coming down and we were self-destructing. We had looks, we just didn't knock them out. I mean, there was a couple times where we had some careless turnovers, but we knew that the type of team that IUPUI was, that they were going to let us back in the game. It was just a matter of when, and we had to be ready to make plays when the time called for it. So I think we persevered through some situations in the first half. We got a couple breaks. We made a couple plays and played a pretty solid first half, but a half that we could definitely build on for the second half.
Yeah, you came back and you only trailed by one, and we had a chance. Jim Kesnick had a chance at the buzzer to put us ahead, and you just banked it off the glass too hard. But you go down at the break, 32-31, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. What were the instructions at halftime? And then we're going to talk about the second half, and I promised John we're going to get the highlights on because it was an exciting second half and overtime period.
I think the main thing that we emphasized in the second half was obviously hitting the boards a little bit harder, taking care of the basketball, being more physical on both ends in what we call the red zone. Because once you get in that paint inside that 7-foot area, you got to finish plays, and you got to finish plays on both ends, defensively, and finish plays up around the rim. I think that's one thing that we get in the habit of sometimes, is trying to finish plays below the rim, where we need to start finishing plays up around the rim or just playing out dunking the basketball. Against the zone, I thought one thing that helped tremendously was we came out and hit some perimeter shots. Against any zone, they matched up with Terry a little bit for a stretch, played him man, and then went one guy up top and then 3 on the baseline. Well, you start knocking down some perimeter jump shots, you're going to make that zone make some adjustments, and that definitely helped open things up in the red zone for us, and we were able to convert in there too. So we made some nice adjustments in the second half.
All right, it was nip and tuck. Both teams had the lead, and John, I think we're ready. Let's go ahead and play some highlights if we can. This is late in regulation. And we are in the home white. We are up at this point, 72-68, with just over a minute to go. And Joe, I'll go ahead and let you talk about what you see here.
I thought one thing that we did a pretty good job of in the second half was of spreading them out a little bit. I thought in the first half we did something what we call playing with our toes on the arc, as far as not creating some pretty good spacing. I thought we were spaced pretty well in that second half. We got a little baseline set right here. Yeah, we got 6 on the clock, or right at a minute. Main thing right here is we want to make sure we get it in. In situations like this, with us up, IUPUI is going to be pressuring some passing lanes. So we got one thing that we emphasized was faking a pass to make a pass, coming back and creating your own passing lanes.
And we're going to try it again here, eventually.
I think this is a little Utah set that we run. This is a little shot clock play.
Right. And Terry had to force that one up.
Yeah. I think we had a little bit more time there than Terry realized, because he kind of took an off-balance quick one right in the middle of that paint. If he would have set himself and regained some body balance and gone up, I think we might have been able to be a little bit more successful right there.
There's a good look at IUPUI head coach Ron Hunter, who he's an energetic man, I tell you.
Yeah, he coaches with a lot of energy, no question about it. I think at this end of the floor that we're at right now is where teams win and lose ball games, especially in overtimes.
And here we go. Again, the clock doesn't start until it's touched in play, in bounds. And Jaguars are going to try to move it around. Nearly a steal there. Instead, they call a foul on us.
Yeah, in a position like that, one thing that you got Quentin Carruthers out there, a freshman, an energetic freshman, looking to make a play defensively as far as getting in that gap, instead of just looking to contain and keep that ball in front more than anything. In overtime, making people score through you is vital. If you take yourself out of position defensively, then it allows for easy scoring opportunities.
Well, at the line for IUPUI is Chris Sanders, who was their leading scorer. He came into the game averaging just under 18 points a game. And it's money time for them. They're down 4 and got to get back in it. And you see he knocks down the first, and he'll also knock down the second. That'll make it a two-point game. And even at this point, it's a one-possession game. Once he made that first one, I know Doug likes to talk about possessions, 1 possession, 2 possession.
Right.
And there are 41 seconds, I think, left, or 42 seconds left. And that means 2 things. Number one, they're going to press you no matter what. But unless something major happens, they're going to get 1 more possession as well as we do.
Right. We get a little 2 for 1 right here.
So at this point, they made it, and then there was a timeout called, and strategy time. Now they're down 2. You've got the ball. You know they're going to come and attack. What was said in the huddle from our end?
I think the main thing that we talked about was first securing the basketball, make sure we get it in bounds, and being strong with it. Like I talked about earlier, taking care of it, coming back, creating some passing lanes. They need it back. It's the bottom line, and how they get it back, whether they give up a score or they foul or we turn it over, I think that's going to be up to them. So, we get it in. Woods got it right here.
Were you expecting the quick foul if they didn't get the steal?
I was expecting them to, right when we got over the timeline. If they didn't get it in the backcourt, I thought they would have fouled us a little bit earlier.
Moving the ball on the perimeter, eating up clock, as you see the shot clock and the game clock winding down. Terry Collins has the ball there.
I think this is where we get into a little set that we call pinball, where we've got 1 guy up, 4 on the baseline. I'm just going to clear out a little bit. I thought Terry might have been able to get a little bit better shot off the dribble, but a situation like that, we'll take it.
They got the ball. 5.4 seconds. They call their last timeout in regulation. I know we had a situation with the women's game a few weeks ago against Ferris State where there was, I believe, 18 or 20 seconds left. We're up by 2. Ferris had the ball. And I remember on the radio we were talking about what was going to happen, and I made the mistake of saying, don't cover a 3. stop the 2, don't cover the 3. They hit a 3 and beat us by 1. So what was the defensive instructions coming out here?
Well, you got the ball in the backcourt, so now this is where the chess match begins a little bit. So they go back out on the floor. We burn a quick timeout just to get an idea as far as how they're setting up and some of the things that they might do. So we were going to switch any screen from the front court to the back court, and just look to keep the ball in front of us more than anything, and not foul a jump shooter. So they come out, they run a little slip.
Did you think they were going to shoot a 3, maybe go for the win, being on the road down 2?
No, I thought they were going to go. I thought they were going to go to the basket. I think we all did.
Well, the second timeout that you guys called is over, and here again, 5.4 seconds left. We're up 2. They've got the ball, and I'll ask for your unbiased opinion on this play here in a second. As Odell Bradley takes it, he made the bucket. I thought there was a charge, but I guess I'm being biased.
Now, that's something where, the way we look at it is, it's twofold. You want to play on and play through calls like that sometimes, but if you're on the road, if you're at home, we felt like we probably should have deserved that call, but we didn't get it. Everybody got a little free basketball, an extra 5 minutes of free basketball. So,
okay, that came with 0.6 of a second left, tied at 72, as you said. Let's get more for the money for tonight. 5 more minutes of basketball. At this point, I think as we get back we're late in the ball game, under a minute, and now they're up by 2. And there is what turns out to be your winning shot, a 3-pointer by Brad Knoll. Put us up 81-80. Talk about that if you can, Joe, for a second.
I'll tell you what, I was surprised, because Brad basically had a free look, right out of transition. I couldn't believe that he was going to be that wide open, but, when you get a situation like that, and Brad, who's a pretty good shooter and a senior, man, you want to step up and knock that ball down, and he did. He didn't hesitate, caught it right in rhythm, and made a big shot. So,
well, that put us up 81-80, and Terry hit 2 free throws, and D'Angelo hit a free throw, and Jim Kesnick hit 2 free throws. Final score: IPFW 86, IUPUI 80. How big was that victory?
I tell you what, I was pleased, as well as Doug and Freddie and Cliff. The one thing that we were pleased with, I think more than anything, was our mental toughness in that overtime. Because when you get into overtime games, everybody's physically fatigued. That's going to be a given. But teams that are mentally tougher and can eliminate some mental mistakes, those are the teams that are going to be successful. Then you tack on, making free throws down the stretch. That seals games. We got some big stops when we needed to on a defensive end, and we had seniors step up and make plays, and that was big. And this is a confidence builder for us because we'd played so hard and played pretty well out west at times, but like Doug said, after the game to everybody that you can imagine, we were pleased with our consistent effort, and it's got to come down to that consistency. And I think one thing that has helped with that is our chemistry. When our chemistry continues to get better and we start playing well together, I think our consistency is going to be much improved. And that when you have things like that and you add it with attitude and effort, winning and losing takes care of itself majority of the time.
Again, a big victory, 86-80. Time for a break. We're overdue for a break. Sorry about that, John. When we come back, we're going to chat with a couple of members of the basketball team, sophomore Terry Collins and sophomore David Simon. But those interviews will take place when the Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Following the tragic events of September 11th, there have been hundreds of violent attacks against innocent Americans.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
Remember, please stop the hate.
We're stronger when we are united.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
One nation under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty
And justice.
For all.
In America, there's either room for everyone, or it's not America.
Don't pick the wrong fight.
Let's keep America land of the free.
Stop the hate.
Hey, I got a filet of sole and a cracked crab for Mr. Studied Higher Math back in school and now can order expensive lunches and charge it to the company.
He's in a meeting. I'm his never studied algebra, calculus, or any other kind of math. Now I'm stuck in this dead-end job assistant.
Can you sign for it?
It's about the only thing I'm qualified to do. That and answer phones for Mr. AP Calculus and number theory expert with the big office upstairs.
Have a good one.
You too.
May he bless you and keep you. May he grant you peace. Amen. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you all next week, and please be careful going home.
Well, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time now to chat with one of our student athletes here on campus, and we're going to have the chance to speak with one of the heroes of the IPFW victory over IUPUI Tuesday night. We welcome back to the program sophomore guard Terry Collins from Fort Wayne Snyder.
Thank you.
We'll talk about Tuesday's game in a moment, but let's go back a little bit and digress. This has been a tough season for you and your teammates, but I know we talked briefly off air. Haven't been 100% physical, have you?
No, I suffered a knee injury during conditioning, and it's been bothering me through the whole season. But it's nothing I can't play through, so I'm just going to work with it until the end of the season and see what happens.
Tendinitis, or?
I think it might be, but the doctors weren't for sure. He just told me if it was bothering me to come back, so I'm just going to wait till the season's over, and then I'll go get it taken care of.
You've had a rugged schedule, just like last year when we played the teams the likes of a Michigan and a Michigan State and an Oregon State. This year hasn't been much different. You played teams like Wyoming and Nebraska and Oregon State, and just recently the West Coast trip out to UC Irvine and San Diego State, UNLV, and of course Tuesday night against IUPUI. How is the team holding up? A lot of traveling.
Yeah, a lot of traveling. We're playing some difficult games, but I think we're becoming more of a team. We're getting to know each other a lot better. We have a lot of young players, and this is their first experience at college, and they're getting a big dose of traveling. And last year we had a lot of traveling last year, but the upperclassmen were used to it, and we're just trying to get the freshmen to come along with us, and hopefully our team will stick together and won't have any more injuries, and we'll be fine, I think, the rest of this year.
What do you, as far as upperclassmen, you're only a sophomore, but as you say, you went through the rigors last year. What do people like you and Brad, who's a senior, and some of the others who have been here for a while, what do you tell the freshmen like a Brandon Jennings or a Tyler Clevenger or a Kyle Thrasher? What do you tell them in terms of preparation for the road trips?
Bring a lot of underclothes. But, no, I try to. I'm not really a vocal leader on the team. I do mine kind of quietly, like off to the side. With these away games, I tell them, sometimes it's going to be frustrating for you not to play at your best all the time, but you just have to prepare for the next game, because I told them, in high school, you were the man. Here, you have to step into a role, and when your time comes, then you have to step up to the plate and make the best of it.
Let's go back, if we can, Terry, and briefly look at a few of the previous games that you and your teammates have played. I don't want to say you were in a rut, but you were in a rut for a while, and you were having problems hitting your shots. At the time I've seen you from your playing days at Snyder and last year and this year, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a feel kind of shooter, a streaky type of shooter. When you're on, it's a lot of fun to watch, and when you're off, it's massive frustration. And you've had parts of both this year.
This year, I kind of felt good at the beginning of the season, but towards the middle part of the first half of our season, I kind of lost confidence in my shot because I was struggling a lot. But the coaches told me pretty much, you're forcing shots, Terry, and that's the reason. And I wasn't making it easy for myself. I was taking a lot of outside shots instead of, getting to the hole and getting my other teammates involved, so then that would open it up a little bit more for me. So now I'm just trying to slow it down a little bit more and let the game come to me instead of trying to do too much to help my team, because it's not just me, it's my teammates as well. And, you know, if it calls for me not to have a big night, but we get a win for us, me like playing defense or rebounding, then that's what it takes.
Well, let's talk about a couple of games. I know when you went on the trip to Wyoming and Nebraska, you had 10 points in each of those games. The first half, the team was right in there. You were tied in one game and only down by 2 in the other game. Second half, some problems. Same thing with Oregon State. Oregon State game, you had 16 points. We had the lead with just under 8 minutes to go, a 4-point lead. And then we're down by 1 with 5 minutes to go. We don't score a basket in the last 6 minutes and 21 seconds. We lose by 7. And then the West Coast trip, you shot lights out at UC Irvine. 9 of 13 from three-point range, career high 36 points. San Diego State was a problem for everybody because you fell behind as a team, 25-4 early on and couldn't get into it. And then UNLV, you came back and played decently. We lost by 12. And then Tuesday night, 29 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists against IUPUI. Talk about those games a little bit and the fact that this team has played well in stretches, but is not able to have been played for 40 minutes, or in like Tuesday night's case, 45 minutes when you did.
Well, I think the whole thing is we, as a team in the second half, we let the other team, our opponents, get on a big run where they'll go on like maybe a 15-0 run, and that puts us kind of a hole where we have to dig ourselves out. And it's not easy playing against the teams we've been playing against. The second half of the season started with IUPUI last night, and we just wanted to try to play for a 40-minute game and not let them get on the run. And we want to learn from our experiences from the bigger teams that we faced this year. And I think we did a good job of playing the whole game last night and not letting them get the big run that'll put us in a hole.
Big win last night, 86-80 in overtime. And now you've got the next couple of games. You're back on the road. Saturday, you're back in the Mountain West Conference. I think we seem to belong in that conference. You're going to take on University of Utah, Rick Majerus, who used to coach at Ball State, among other places. And then next Tuesday night, back on the road at Morehead State, who we played in the opening game of last season and lost by 9, but we owe them a favor or two, or they owe us, I should say. Thoughts on these next 2 games?
Hopefully we go into Utah and don't look at them as don't look at the name, the Utah Utes, you know, just going there as their basketball team. I mean, that's a big powerhouse in college basketball. And, you know, we've learned from the other Mountain West teams that we face, so hopefully we can go in there and pull out a victory. And Morehead State, I just hope we can go in there and play for another 40 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that we can pull out a victory.
Well, congratulations on the effort, especially against IUPUI and the 36-point effort against Cal State Irvine. Get that shooting eye, keep it up, keep it going. And also some work on the boards, 12 rebounds and 3 offensive rebounds, and they came at critical times against IUPUI. So keep up the good work, both on the court and the classroom, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Our guest has been Terry Cowan, sophomore guard from Fort Wayne Snyder. We'll take a break and come back and talk to another sophomore, David Simon. But that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resource Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Excuse me, I can't seem to find these anywhere.
Huh. These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me.
What did I do?
We just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
A Stargate. That's the door to other worlds that my character Tilk and the rest of my team use on Stargate SG-1. It's a door to exploration and exciting adventure. And education can provide you with a similar passageway to a world full of possibilities. So stay in school and graduate.
Welcome back again to Mastodon Spotlight. We're talking hoops this week. We just visited with one of the members of the IPFW men's basketball team, Terry Collins, and now we get a chance to visit with another member of the squad. We're happy to welcome to Mastodon Spotlight 6'9" sophomore, David Simon. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's my third year in college, but I'm only a sophomore because I had to sit out last year, redshirt, for transfer rules because I transferred from Loyola University in Chicago, and I played volleyball down there. I actually played basketball, so I just wanted to get back to playing basketball because I played basketball my whole life. So I got here, I got in touch with, he's actually a coach now, Coach Livingston. He wasn't coaching then, but he put me in contact with Coach Knoll, and Coach Knoll gave me the opportunity to come to the team last year and see what happens. Luckily, everything worked out, so here I am.
Let me backtrack for a second, David. You said you played basketball most of your life, yet when you first went to school, you went to play volleyball. How did that come about?
In high school, my conference in high school wasn't anything special. I mean, I was a good player for my area, but my area didn't really produce too many, big-name basketball players. So, and volleyball, I always just played in the spring because it was something to do. And it turned out like my team was real good, and we went downstate that year. And I had plans of playing either Division III or Division II basketball somewhere. But on the state tournament, I had a really good stretch of 3 games and started getting recruited by volleyball coaches real hard. And I figured, Division I volleyball at Loyola, it's a good school, it's close to home, probably better than going D3 or D2 basketball maybe, so I figured I'd give it a shot.
And you actually came here to play against IPFW's volleyball team a couple years ago.
Yeah, I was here back in the my freshman year. Hey, I think I got in that game too, so.
Then you made the switch, and as you say, through connections and talks, and yet you came over here at IPFW. You had to sit out last year. How tough was it to sit out, number one, for the transfer, but also number two, you also hurt your knee?
Yeah, it was tough sitting out because, I wanted to play basketball for so long. It's been since my senior year, since the last time I competed, so almost 3 years at the beginning of this season before I actually had played the game of basketball again. But I think it was a kind of a blessing because it gave me a chance to get back into the swing of basketball because I hadn't played it for over a year. So and then right when I was feeling like I was getting going, I tore my ACL, my left knee, back in March, and I had surgery on April 1st. So that was rough, going through the rehab and everything. But my team was behind me the whole time, and my family, and especially the other player, Keon Henderson, because he had tore his about 7 weeks before me. So we kind of rehabbed together, and he kept me going, and the coaches kept me going. And I really had a good support group, so it made it kind of easy. But
talk a little bit about what you have to go through in rehab to get that knee strong again.
Well, I was on crutches for about 6 weeks, and then I was doing leg lifts. It got to the point, like in the beginning, I couldn't lift my leg by myself. And then I was lifting my leg, and then I started using weights. And then once I started walking, I could start doing some closed chain exercises, which is not jumping. So, squatting with your own weight, like no weights. And then I went to physical therapy over at Sport One at Spiece, and it's just a lot of work. And then once it got to the point where I could run, I was doing little bits of individuals with the team and also going to Performance One and also doing other therapy with the trainer here. So it got pretty hectic where I was doing a lot, but it all was for the best. So it helped me get my leg back strong, and now it feels good. So.
Knock on wood, everything's going well right now with the leg?
Yeah, it feels good. I got bumped in UNLV, got a little bruise in the front of my knee where they took the graft at, but other than that, it's felt real good.
Coaches have brought you along somewhat on the slow side this year. And they started out putting you in periodically, and lately they finally feel confident in your abilities. They're pairing you up, starting you a number of times, and putting you together with Jim Kesnick. So, you know, you're 6'9", I believe, and Jim is 6'10", for the Twin Towers, as we like to call them. You've had some very good outings, some tough outings, some good outings. Good outing against Butler, good outing against Oregon State, 14 points there. And on the road, I know I'm going to kid you about it, career high 23 points and 11 rebounds against UNLV. What's the season been like for you as you're getting more and more playing time?
It's more enjoyable for me, but I've been up and down throughout the whole season. Like you said, I've had a couple of good games, but then there's been some stretches where I haven't played as well as I should, and I've just been basically just trying to focus on going out every time, staying aggressive, because that's what the coaches always tell me is the problem when I don't have a good game, per se, is I wasn't as aggressive as I was the night before. So I've just been trying to focus on being aggressive and stay aggressive throughout the whole game, and concentrate a little more on defense also, because defense is what wins the game. So
I know Tuesday night against IUPUI, 10 points, a couple of monster dunks, but you ran into some foul trouble, and you fouled out relatively early. But the team hung on, and even though we got tied and got sent into overtime, we came back and we won the ball game. How big was that win against IUPUI for this ball club?
It was real big. Yeah, I fouled out early, but I almost had more fun watching my team win the game from the bench.
Don't tell coaches that.
Yeah, but, I mean, yeah, I got a couple of cheap fouls, probably because I wasn't in position where I was supposed to be. But I had full confidence in my team. Like I said, I enjoyed myself watching them win. I didn't have any doubts that we were going to pull it out. And it was just a real big morale booster, because all year we've been talking about we know we can win because we know we have a good team, and it just felt good to finally go out and show everybody else that we are a good team.
Two quick questions because we're almost out of time. Your field of study here at IPFW is?
Chemistry.
Chemistry. Yeah. I flunked it in college, folks. No thanks. And real quickly, what do you hope to accomplish the rest of this season?
Hopefully we can take this win and keep it going, against Utah and going to Morehead State. And second half of the season, I expect we should win a fair share of the games. So hopefully we'll keep playing like we can and just get some wins there.
Well, congratulations on the win against IUPUI, and continued good luck as you get more playing time and hit some more of those monster dunks. That'll bring the crowd to their feet.
Thanks.
Our guest has been David Simon, sophomore transfer from Loyola Chicago, member of the men's basketball team here at IPFW. We'll take another break. Bring Coach Patoda back as we got a couple of games on the road we want to talk about against Utah and Morehead State. We'll have that conversation when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Step out of the car. Open up the trunk. Check inside.
What's going on?
Hands on the car.
Bingo.
Got it.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We're rejoined now by assistant men's basketball coach. If I said assistant head basketball coach, I'd get shot by Doug. But Joe Pachota is with us, and we talked before talking to Terry and David. A big win against IUPUI. Now you get back in the airplane and get the suitcases going again, and you're going to fly out west, and Saturday you play the Utah Utes in Salt Lake City, coached by one Rick Majerus from Marquette, Ball State fame. He was here in Muncie for a while. And another is the final game of the Mountain West Conference swing.
Yeah.
I think we played everybody except BYU and Air Force in that conference. We ought to be an ex officio member or something.
Yeah.
But you're going to play Saturday at Utah, and then you're going to come home for a day and then travel to Moorhead, Kentucky, or Bowling Green, Kentucky, to take on Moorhead State, a team that played us at the Coliseum last year and beat us by 9. So payback time against Kyle Macy coming up next Tuesday night. Not too much time, Joe. Let's talk about these two ball games.
I'll tell you what, Utah's going to be well coached. Majerus does a great job with that program. Final Four, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they made it to. So they got a good program. They're consistently at 20 wins every year. We're not surprised to see another Mountain West team. Things that they will do will not shock us. We know how they're going to be physically. We know what kind of athletes and skilled players they have.
They've got horses on that team, literally. No offense, but big, strong guys who can run and can shoot from the outside if they're 6'8", 6'10", 7 foot.
Yeah, they've got a couple big kids in the middle that are pretty skilled. We look at it as another chance to redeem ourselves against Nebraska-like post players, and hopefully we'll put ourselves in a position to learn from that game too. So I look forward to playing them. We played the top 3 preseason poll in the Mountain West, and Wyoming, UNLV, and Utah they picked 3rd. So we know what they're going to bring to the table now. It's just time for us to step up and perform. So, and like you said, we head back down. We get back in town and change bags real quick and get back out on the road on Monday for Moorhead. And they got a good ball club. Ricky Menard is a very skilled player.
He had 24 points against us last year. I remember that.
Yeah, so they're gonna be ready for us. We're not going to sneak up on anybody. The one thing that's nice about going into that Moorhead game is they play a game Thursday and Saturday, and then us on Tuesday, 2 conference games Thursday and Saturday. So, we're the 3rd game in a stretch that hopefully those 2 conference opponents beat them up a little bit, and we can catch them on that downside and put ourselves
maybe
in a position.
Maybe a situation like Oakland last year when they had we were in the middle of their trifecta, 2 big conference games, one against Valpo, and we caught them on the one night and beat them.
Yeah, most definitely. I think last year Oakland took us a little bit lightly. I don't think Moorhead will do that this time.
We wish you luck.
I appreciate it.
Remember to take a picture of the house and so forth. But thanks for coming in for Doug this week, and great win Tuesday night. Good luck against Utah. Good luck against Moorhead State, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Our guest has been assistant coach Joe Pachota from the IPFW men's basketball team. We thank Joe, we thank Terry Collins and David Simon for appearing as well. And as always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. Quick programming note, Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock, we're back on the air here on Channel 56 with IPFW women's basketball. Coach Bruce Patterson's women's team will take on Centenary College from Shreveport, Louisiana. Tip-off at the Gate Center, 1 o'clock. If you can't make it in person, tune in to College 56 Sports for the broadcast of that game. And then we hope to have Coach Patterson or Chris Paul on with us next week, and maybe a couple other women's players as well, as we put our emphasis on IPFW women's basketball next week. But that is next week, and until next week, this is Mike Maas saying, have a great week, and go Dons. last week, the IPFW women's basketball team finally finished a long 6-game road trip with a trip to Murray State, Kentucky. On this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we'll talk about that ball game, plus the ensuing 2 games played since here at the Here You Get Sports Center. Our show's called Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next.
Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping. On Stargate SG-1, my character discovered that the Stargate could be used as a key to unlock an endless variety of adventures. Your key for endless adventure is a good education. Don't limit your options. Stay in school.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maz. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I said a moment ago, the IPFW women's basketball team, like the men, seem to have been living this year on a bus, having suitcases, staying in motels, traveling on airplanes, whatever. And last week, we could go Tuesday, the 7th of January, the women's team finally finished a 6-game road trip with a trip to Murray State, Kentucky. And joining us this week to talk about that game and a couple others played since then is the head coach of IPFW women's basketball, Bruce Patterson. And Bruce, first and foremost, the road trip. I know it's tough being an independent because you know most of your games are going to be on the road, but let's talk about the fact that this team has to stay on the road more often than that.
Well, I mean, this year, especially being the first year through Division I, if we wanted to play anybody of any caliber to try to get one, our name out there, and 2, to get the guarantees that go along with that, there wasn't any question you were going to be on the road, and we knew that. So we only had 2 home games up until this past weekend, and it's tough. I mean, I guess I never realized how tough it was on the kids. The last trip was 8-hour bus trip from here down to Murray, Kentucky, and an 8-hour trip back, and I can tell you that you could see it in the kids' legs and their actions, their reactions. It just was a hard trip, and it's cumulative. I mean, it's day after day, week after week when you're getting out there and either getting on a bus or an airplane. It just takes its toll, and I think we suffered from it.
I guess if there is a good side, and it may sound crazy to say a good side, the last couple of games of the road trip, the kids were not in classes. If you had that added burden of having to study, that would make it extremely difficult.
Well, let me stop you there for a minute, Mike. If I can, I agree with that 100%, and I will also say to you that our kids did a terrific job in the classroom this year. We ended up with a GPA of 3.03 for a group GPA. We had 8 kids that were over 3.0. We only had 1 kid that was below what I called it down in a problem area, and that wasn't a big problem. I just was really tickled with, considering the travel that they did and the long distance travel, the long weekends when they were gone Thursday through Monday most of the time, how well they did in the classroom. So I know that's a sidelight, but it's something that we're very proud of. We had some struggles with that the first year we came here, and a huge emphasis was put on it. The kids responded, and the coaching staff did a great job. Specifically, Al Buck, who was responsible for that, and so I was very pleased with what we did there. Now, what was your question?
I'm glad you brought it up because, we tend to forget they're student athletes. They're not here just to play basketball. They're here to get an education so that they can go on in life and excel in an area. But for IPFW's concerns, it was the end of a trip, 6-game road trip, 10 out of 11 on the road. And as you mentioned to me before we started taping, Murray State had just gotten off a road trip of their own.
Yeah, it was a bad combination. They had just come off a road trip. They were anxious to get back home. They came out and just shot the ball extremely well. We had really tried to just implement a new defense down there. I think the combination of them getting back and wanting to shoot the ball well and show their home fans that they could play, tied in with us trying something a little different and new. I think it resulted in some pretty good numbers for them, especially in the first half. And I'll be the first to tell you that I thought in the first half our intensity level was not very good. The kids come out flat. I can blame it on anything. We can blame it on the road trip, we can blame it on youth, we can blame it on a lot of different things, but the fact was the first half we played soft, got ourselves well behind in the ball game, and then finally at halftime, though I can't repeat all the things that were said, there was a little fire back in their belly, and I thought we played very well with them in the second half.
Yeah, and when we look back, and I know you and I briefly talked about it beforehand, for the game, Murray State shot 58% from the floor. And in the first half, we shot 26% from the floor. And they hit 6 threes in the first half, and they ended up 52% from the game from the floor, 12 of 24 from three-point range, and that's a tough act to beat when they're hitting their outside shots.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a function of the defense. You know, we decided we were going to play a little bit of zone, and we played zone for them for the most of the game, if not all of it, just right down to the end. And that zone wasn't covering up some of the spots on the outside. But even at that, you don't necessarily expect somebody to be shooting 50% on you or better. But they did, and I congratulate them. From our shooting perspective, that 26% is indicative of the intensity level that we came out with. We just did not. We were not focused, and we didn't do it. I think you see it in the foul shooting too. As I recall, our foul shooting there was almost 50%.
Yeah.
You know, they shot almost better from the field than we did from the foul line, and we're better shooters than that. I mean, you know, if you go to the Centenary game, you see we shot 23 or 25 from the foul line. We can shoot foul shots, and yet, you know, that's nothing but focus and intensity and wanting to compete.
Well, as you said, you fell behind at the break. You're down 17. You had some words of wisdom, however you want to describe it, and you played them to a standstill, 41-41 the second half, and we shot much better. We were 47% from the floor in the second half. And but the final score was 79-62.
Yeah, we actually had that game down to, I think it was 10 or 12 or something like that, and made three. I can't really describe them to you, Mike. Maybe three of the dumbest plays I'd seen ball teams make consecutively out of three of our pretty good players. I know on one of them, Maggie Bruning was falling out of bounds underneath their basket, and in an attempt to save it, threw it right back into one of their big people for a layup. And at that point, I think the score was a 12-point difference. We had made a nice run on them, and we're getting back into the game, and you know, I know Maggie knows better than that. She's a smart kid, a smart player, and yet she did it. I watched one of our centers literally kick the ball, drop kick the ball out of one of our guards' hands because she came in too close and on the dribble and kicked it, and you're kind of wondering, you know, am I watching a college game here? Am I watching a high school? What am I watching here? But that was that focus and that intensity level that, you know, I really want to believe that it was the travel or the youth or whatever, but we better do better at that, that's all.
One bright spot out of that game, if you look at numbers, freshman Ashley Elmore, and you and I have talked about it before. You say she's got a lot of talent, a lot of potential, as long as she keeps focused on the floor and especially stays out of foul trouble. And she had 18 points and 6 rebounds and a steal. So, and from a number standpoint, a good performance for her.
Well, it wasn't just a numbers standpoint. That was a game where we consider it to be Ashley's breakout game. We've been talking ever since Ashley got here. No, I take that back. We've been talking ever since we inked her a year ago, September, or actually November, obviously, that this was a kid who had the potential to be a big-time D1 player. I mean, she's just outstanding talent. And we, in the preseason drills, you could see a talent level that was there. You could see it everywhere. And then games started, and it was like this kid ran into a shell. I mean, her intensity level fell off. She was standing around, wasn't getting any rebounds. Defensively, wasn't playing very well. You could say she fell into the doghouse, but we just were frustrated. We didn't know what had happened. I mean, this kid just disappeared on us. And all of a sudden, she woke up, and you know, and now she's had, I think she had 18 there against Centenary. Back here, she had 24, and then last night against IUPUI, I think she had 16 or 18 or something like that. So she's starting to put up numbers, and when you can start to score from the post, it then opens everything else up, because, you know, for a long time we were a one-dimensional basketball team. You either shoot the three or you don't score, and now we've got not only one but 2 people that can score in there.
Well, that game ended, and now the team made that long bus ride home. I know we've been on some quiet bus rides. Was it a super quiet ride for 8 hours coming home? Or everyone, I think, a ride that long gives a team a chance to reflect and hopefully refocus.
I'm a big believer that after a ball game, for the most part, you have to let them go. One way or the other, you have to let them go, whether it's a win or a loss. And so I'd tell you that for the first 4 or 5 hours, it was pretty quiet. Then some of the life started to come back in because, we got to reflect on the fact that we didn't come out with intensity. We got to reflect on the fact that we didn't stay very focused and that we made some critical mistakes. Literally, I believe those 3 mistakes that we made in the middle of the second half when we were down by 12 made a decision whether we were going to compete in that ball game or not, because it went from 12 back up to 20, and then here we were fighting to get it back down again, whereas it should have been probably down into the mid-single digits. You got to reflect on that, but at some point you got to say, game over. We walk back in the gym tomorrow and we come back with some intensity. And so the videos came out, and there's no class, so there wasn't a study table on the thing like there usually is. So you say you got to go back to doing what you're doing, and so it wasn't that quiet the last part. Other than no sleeping, and there was a lot of sleeping going on.
Well, you came home, and then you get ready to finally put on the white uniforms for only the 3rd time all year. Last Saturday game we carried here on College 56, you took on the ladies of Centenary College from Shreveport, Louisiana. And John, if you're ready, we're going to show some action from the first half of that game. And we're going to pick it up, I believe. Amy Geralds has just made a pair of free throws to give us a 14-6 lead, and you put the defensive pressure on them from the get-go.
Yeah, we, it's the first time we've really pressed, quite frankly, in quite a while. We kind of took that tool away from it, if you will, just to make them focus back on the things that were important to us again. And we decided that we'd come back with a little bit to try to give them some excitement at home. And I thought they did a pretty nice job with it, especially early. I think a little later we started giving up some easy buckets, but we did a nice job with it.
And here, everyone's moving, and that's something you'd like to see with your offense. Everybody moving and looking for the ball.
Well, our movement, it's been a main focus in the ball game for us, because there are times when we become a little stagnant, or have become a little stagnant on the offensive end. That's usually a function of inexperience. Kids don't know how to get open for themselves. I don't want to reflect on another game, but the game we had last night, I thought the kids, with the defensive pressure, became a little stagnant, and it caused us a problem. But this game, we matched up well, and I thought we stayed on our horses.
Well, here we were seeing Maggie Bruning, the point guard, at the foul line, and I know we kidded with her after the game, and we're going to be talking to Maggie later in this program, and these are the only 2 free throws for the entire game that the team missed. They were 23 of 25, and we got a little substitution here, and Maggie's going to get another free throw, and then she's going to miss it. And as our viewers will see when we talk to Maggie, later on in the program, she said that she knows that that's one area of her game that she has to improve in, is knocking down those free throws.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest area that Maggie has to work on is her shooting. She's a pretty good shooter, but her shot is flat, and so it either has to be right on or it's not there. She doesn't, you hear about shooter's roll. Maggie doesn't get a shooter's roll because of the trajectory of the shot. We've been working on her now for 1.5 years to change it. Habits are hard to break. Especially with that one. She's what makes her a good player is she's a very strong-willed young lady, and it also at times hurts her because she's so strong-willed.
So now we're back here, and we're up 15-6, and now we're on the defensive. Well, we just caused a turnover, I think.
I think we just got a jump ball there.
And you see Hillary O'Connell, Jessica Ramey, pair of freshmen.
Yeah, well, there's actually 4 freshmen on the floor right now. You got Ashley, and that's one of the things Ash can do as well as any of the big kids we've faced right there.
Nice post-up jumper.
She can shoot the ball pretty well from anywhere from 15 in, and we're just trying to get her more and more shots in that environment. And she can post you up and with her back to the basket, too.
Again, there seemed to be an intensity Saturday that hasn't been there for a while.
Yeah, that's. I'll be the first to tell you that, and you know, some of that's youth. Call it whatever you want. We're just trying to get it in every practice and every game.
Then we see Tiara Dudley just got herself boxed in too deep underneath and had to try and make an awkward shot, or a shot from an awkward angle, and missed it.
T gets herself in bad positions. T plays primarily because she works her tail off, and she works hard, and she's a great competitor, and those things are favorable to us. We've tried to, you got to remember, we moved her from a 5 to a 4,
yeah.
and so she's trying to, this isn't like it's something she's done all of her life,
Good, strong move to the hole by Ashley again. And
she's got the potential by the time she leaves here to be a stud. I'm telling you, you haven't even seen some of the things she can do. She's got a great left-handed and right-handed baby hook, and that she doesn't have enough confidence in herself yet to use it the way she should.
Their best player, Alexis Petway, came in averaging 14.5 points a game. She missed an open layup there, and we're going to take advantage of it here.
We did a nice job on her. I thought the kids did a nice job of staying focused on her and knowing where she was all the time.
And there's a 3-ball from Hillary O'Connell, and that put us up 21-8 en route to a 48-23 halftime lead. I know it was unusual to have a big lead at halftime, but what did you say to the gals at the break?
Let's do it again. Unlike some of the other games, there wasn't a lot of magic to say. I mean, what you're trying to do is to maintain focus, and I walked into the halftime basically and wrote 2 big zeros on the whiteboard and said, "That's now the score. It's 0-0." And one of the things I've really learned about D1, whether it was at Indiana State or it was at Notre Dame or it was at Western Michigan or anyplace else, that if a D1 program has a chance to bury you, they will bury you. I mean, I've now known what it's like to be down a lot of points and having somebody pressing me with a minute left to go in the ball game. We just told the kids, it's a fact of life, and you don't back off. We don't change anything. We just go out and play as hard as we can play. It's their job to defend themselves.
Well, we went on to defeat Centenary 91-69 real quickly. We had 4 players in double figures. Ashley increased her career high, 24 points, 5 rebounds. She was 9 of 11 from the floor and 6 of 6 at the foul line. Amy Gerald's 22 points, 7 of 11 shooting, 2 of 4 from long range. Made all 6 of her free throws. That had to be great to see. And we also had 12 points from Varia Bibbs and 10 points from Hillary O'Connell. So, and again, great foul shooting and a big victory.
Yeah, it was critical to us. Somebody asked me how I felt when I walked off the floor, and I felt like a 10-pound weight was removed from my back because the kids needed to win. Psychologically, they needed to win. They needed to come off that road trip, get back home, and play competitive basketball. And because there were some of those games we just flat were not competitive.
Well, that took place Saturday afternoon. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we had a chance to speak with 3 members of the IPFW women's basketball team after the game Saturday. And you'll see those interviews when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resources Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Excuse me, I can't seem to find these anywhere.
Huh. These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me. Just
What did I do?
we just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Chance now, one of my favorite parts of this program, chance to speak with a student athlete here at IPFW. And I get to speak with a couple of ladies, in fact 3 ladies for this week's show. And the first person we're going to speak to is a freshman member of the women's basketball team. We welcome to the program Ashley Elmore. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm from Southern Indiana. I've played basketball basically all my life, just like the other girls. And I'm up here to get an education in elementary education. So.
What led you to come up north, so to speak, here to Fort Wayne?
The academic program and also the athletic program. I like the coaches and the team and everybody up here.
Talk about your first year playing collegiate basketball here at IPFW.
It's been great. I mean, the team's been great. Coaching has been awesome. And I love being around everybody. And especially, I love playing the game of basketball. And it's just been great.
As we tape this interview, it's literally moments after your team broke a 9-game losing streak. You defeated Centenary College 91-69. And for the second game in a row, you had a career high in scoring. Last Tuesday night against Murray State, you had 18 points and 6 rebounds. Today, 24 points, 5 rebounds, and you were 9 of 11 from the floor and 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Talk about this game and also Tuesday night's game.
Well, I mean, I went out and just playing. I just tried to let everything go behind me and just go out and play the game I know how to play. And I think that was my problem. I was just trying to hold things in and I was worrying too much about what I was doing instead of just going out and playing the game. And I just broke out, and I needed this, and I think the whole team needed this last game. Just the confidence back, and everybody was shooting well tonight, and so it was good.
How important was it for this team to actually play a game at home and not be on a bus, not be in an airplane, not be in a couple of cases, motel rooms? How good and how good did it feel, and how important was it to play a home game?
It felt great. I mean, the support was great. The band, everybody was here, and the home game was really important because we really don't like to lose on our court, and we want to get a streak going right now since we have like 8 or 9 home games. So we'll get a streak going that we win on our home court, and we needed this win.
What do you attribute to the fact that the last 2 games you've scored 42 points? I know coaches have said, and they've talked to me in the past, one of their big concerns is to keep you on the floor, not get into foul trouble, and of course that happened today, and I think it happened Tuesday night. Is that the biggest difference?
I don't know. I mean, I just got to learn how to be aggressive, but be aggressive with it hidden. I mean, the upperclassmen have learned how to do it and hide everything. I just go out and I try to be physical sometimes, and it doesn't work, and I just need to learn how to be physical but yet hide it.
This team has played 16 games now as we tape this interview. What is the biggest difference you've seen between playing last year as a high school senior and playing this year as a collegiate freshman?
Actually, I went to a high school game last night, and the tempo is a lot more upbeat. And just the aggressiveness and the intensity that's on the floor. I mean, sometimes I would go home and practice with my team. It's just like, you just want to tell them, come on, guys, let's run, let's do something. But, I mean, the tempo, that's probably the biggest, is the tempo's a lot more upbeat.
Now that this team has broken their 9-game losing streak and we're on a 1-game winning streak and we've got the next 3 games at home, where do you see this team going?
I see this team with a lot of potential. I mean, with Maggie coming back and Nicole and getting everybody back from injuries, I mean, we have great potential, and we just need to go out and have confidence in everything we do and just go at it.
Congratulations on the big win here in the last 2 games, scoring 42 points, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
That's freshman Ashley Elmore. We'll take a break and then come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
Step out of the car.
Open up the trunk. Check inside.
What's going on?
Hands on the car.
Bingo.
Got it.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Again, a chance to speak with a student athlete here at IPFW, always one of my favorite segments of this program. And now we get a chance to speak to another freshman member of the women's basketball team. We say hello to Lindy Carey.
Hi.
You're a Leo graduate, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a freshman here at IPFW, and I'm studying elementary education, and it just seemed like a good opportunity to come here, so I'm having a lot of fun.
Major reason that you came here as opposed to going somewhere else?
Well, IPFW just went Division I, and that was kind of one of my goals, to play D1 ball, and it's close to home, and it just seemed like a good opportunity, building program and being a part of that.
Last year at Leo High School, you were one of the leading scorers in the state of Indiana. And at this point, this team has played 16 games, and as we're taping this again, a big victory today over Centenary College from Shreveport, Louisiana, 91-69, broke a 9-game losing streak. What is the biggest difference you've seen between last year playing Top Gun at Leo and this year being one of the gang here at IPFW?
I think it's just a lot more physical game, and everybody's a lot quicker, a lot faster. Defense is always better. I got to work on moving without the ball rather than trying to create my own shot. It's just a whole nother level, and everybody's quicker, so you just got to adjust your game to that level.
What's the best part of your game?
Well, I'm working on all aspects of my game right now, so hopefully they'll all improve, but I'm working on focusing more on my shot, and hopefully that will start falling again for me.
You've played a lot of different positions this year. You've played the 3, you've played the 4, I think you've played a 2 on occasion. You've even brought the ball up the floor. In a perfect world, what position would you like to play?
I like the 3 spot. I think more so you get a little bit of both sides, the guard part, handling the ball. Also, you get to go inside, rebound, stuff like that.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Ashley a short while ago. What's the biggest difference you've had to deal with from playing as a high school senior to playing as a collegiate freshman?
I think it's just a lot more physical game. The tempo, like she said, is a lot more upbeat, and we did go watch a game last night, and it seems like everything's a little bit slow motion compared to what we go through now, and it's just a totally different level. It's a lot more physical and a lot faster speed.
Talk a little bit, Lindy, about the fact that this year, being a freshman, your team has spent the bulk of the season on the road. This win today against Centenary was only the 3rd home game out of 16 played. What's it been like traveling with this team?
For me, it's been a lot of fun, new experiences, but as far as the games go, I think it's a little difficult at times, the long bus trips, all that kind of thing. Not being on your home court, not practicing where you're used to practicing, and just being at home on your home court just gives you a little bit of that comfort zone, knowing where things are, and just you're used to shooting there.
As I said, a big victory today. You broke a 9-game losing streak. How important was this victory for this team?
It's very important. I think it gave all of us a lot more confidence and ready to step up our game, and hopefully like Ashley said, start a streak here at home and be known as a team that doesn't lose on their home court, and hopefully we'll try to start that.
Well, you've got 3 more games at home here in this little homestand, and you've got a lot of games, I think 7 or 8 games left at home this season. Where do you see this team going from here on out?
I think today was a big confidence boost for us, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we'll get a few more wins under our belt.
Well, congratulations on the win today, and keep up the good work. Get you some more PT, stay healthy, and again, best wishes throughout the future here at IPFW.
Thank you.
That's freshman Lindy Carey from Leo High School. We'll take another break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
If we do not take responsibility for saving animals from extinction, we allow a part of ourselves to die with them. Help World Wildlife Fund protect animals in the places where they live by ordering a free action kit. Together, we can leave our children a living planet.
Come in, she said, I'll give ya shelter from the storm.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of dealing with you. I'm sick of
I work 6 days a week.
Who do you think you
Stand
are?
up straight.
Don't you ever talk back to me again! You just shut up!
What are you crying about?
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life. Teach carefully. We can show you how. Act against violence. Call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure.
What is a hero? Are heroes born, or are they made? In after-school programs, your kids will uncover hidden strengths, discover they have the power to change their future, and find the hero inside themselves. Let us know you on after-school programs in your area. Call 1-800-USA-LEARN. After-school programs, helping kids find the hero within.
Welcome once again back to Mastodon Spotlight. Chance once more, and I never get tired of saying it. I always enjoy the chance to speak with a student athlete here at IPFW, and we're really happy to have with us this segment another member of the women's basketball team, and we welcome to the show junior transfer Maggie Bruning.
Hi.
Junior transfer, and you came over here from the University of St. Francis. You're a graduate of Northside High School. Your dad's a professor here. Your sister played here. Let's talk about Maggie a little bit.
Well, I mean, as you said, I'm from Fort Wayne, and I just came over here last December from St. Francis, and I'm just happy to get to play now, and it was good to get a win today. I think I feel a lot better about myself and about the team, so I'm feeling pretty happy right now.
How difficult was it for you to have to sit out? Because I saw you play in high school, I saw you play over at St. Francis, and the fact that when you do make the transfer, the NCAA has sometimes some lovely rules, and one of them is that you have to sit out. I'd still like to know the rationale behind it, but they say you have to sit out. And in your case, you had to sit out almost a full year. How difficult was that for you?
I think it was really hard for me. Last year it wasn't as bad because, by the time I got here, the season's kind of winding up, and, it wasn't as hard, but definitely this year, beginning of the year was really tough because I've been practicing with everybody. And then to kind of see, as the game started coming along, my role in practice changed. And, I wouldn't get in as much, stuff like that. So the people who were actually going to play would get in. And then to see us come out and we didn't start the year off too well, and to have to go through watching all the games and stuff, it's really hard.
Well, you finally got the green light to play, and the first game you get to play was, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago at the University of Notre Dame, a one-year removed national championship team, and there were over 6,000 fans for that game, and we played them tough for the first 7 minutes, and then they kind of took it to us after that. But what was it like, that first game at Notre Dame?
I think, it was a great experience just to play against players of that caliber, and just a great team. They have great facilities, great coaches, everything. I think it was good for all the girls to get to see, with a lot of work, we can build something like that, and I think playing there and actually competing well did a lot for us.
Coaches have really said that one of the things that they were anxious to have happen was you to become eligible, because you've played in Coach Patterson's system before, and you've played collegiate basketball. And when you look at the makeup of this year's team, there's 8 freshmen. You're one of 2 juniors. There's only 1 senior, and a couple of sophomores, in Courtney and Varia. Do you feel added pressure, even though you're technically a newcomer? You're a veteran, and coaches are expecting veteran leadership out of you. Does that add any extra pressure for you to perform on the court?
I think yes and no. I think I put enough pressure on myself for everybody, and I expect to play to a certain level. And if I'm not doing that, I take it out on myself. And I mean, I am new, but I'm not, so it's kind of a weird position. I mean, I've had to adjust my game, and I've had to get used to how these teams are going to play us and play myself. But I think I'm getting used to it, and I think I'll do okay, and I can help all the younger girls still. Even though I don't have a lot of Division I experience, I still have enough other basketball experience to help them.
When we talk about some of the younger gals, and you play the point guard, and when you stop and think, we've got Michelle Mano, who's a freshman. We've got Jessica Ramey, who's a freshman. Courtney Nicely is a sophomore. What do you do? Do you talk with them off the floor or on the floor? Or what little tidbits are you able to give to them to help them make a better player from themselves?
Well, just as you said, I'll say stuff to them either during the course of the game while they're playing, when they come over the sideline, stuff like that. In practice, I try to play them as tough as I can to get them ready for the games and get them ready for the competition we're going to face. And anything I can do to help them is, in the end, going to help us. So, I'm going to try to give them all the advice I can and just try to make them better players if I can.
Let's take a look at briefly some of the numbers from this game, this big 91-69 victory over Centenary. You were 3 of 7 from the floor, 0 of 2 from three-point range, 3 of 5, and I know some of us kidded you before. This team today in this game, 23 of 25 from the foul line, which is phenomenal. And you had the only 2 misses. I asked Coach in the post game, I said, he's going to make you run any extra laps or anything? And he just smiled and really didn't give me an answer. But he was just tickled pink that this team hit free throws. But also, you look here, being the point guard, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, and 3 steals in 32 minutes of action. So would you describe your effort today as a good one?
Well, I think definitely the first half I thought I played pretty well, except for my 2 fouls. And then second half, I think I came out a little tight, and I had a little stretch there where I had a couple turnovers. And, Coach said something to me, and I know that I wasn't playing well. But then I think at the end, I think we all came together and realized, we're winning this game, so that's it. And kind of put our heads down that it was over.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Ashley and Lindy. How important was this victory for this program here today?
I think it was, couldn't get more important. We've lost, I don't know how many, 9 in a row. 9 in a row, and I haven't won a game yet here, so it was my first win. It was our first home win, in a long time, and just our first home game. And I think now we got this home stretch, just winning today will help get the ball rolling.
What do you think is going to happen the rest of the way?
Well, I'm hoping that now we get a little confidence and we start, playing like we should play, like we did today, and I think it'll take care of itself and we'll get a lot more wins.
Well, congratulations on the victory, and now you can go take this team and run wherever it goes. But good luck, and thanks for coming back here and coming here to IPFW, and let's hope some good things happen the rest of the way.
Thanks.
That's junior point guard Maggie Bruning, a transfer from University of St. Francis and a graduate of Northside High School. We'll take another break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment right here on College 56 Sports.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. precious places, timeless places, places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
All over America, people are taking the National Radon Test. Have you?
You put me on the spot!
True or false? Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer.
True. I'd say false.
No, it's true.
That's something new to me.
The Office of the Surgeon General recommends all homes be tested for radon.
False.
It's true.
True.
So that's bad. We should get our house tested.
Sure, I'm gonna call it.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
How can you not call? 1-800-SOS-RADON.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Hope you enjoyed our visits with the 3 student athletes and the women's basketball team. We're rejoined now by their head coach, Bruce Patterson. And Bruce, we had the win, and that was a great feeling, as you said before in a previous segment. But now you had to get ready for a ball game that was played Tuesday night, again here at the Harrogate Sports Center. And you took on what I call kissing cousin. We can't call them an arch rival yet, but it's our sister institution, IUPUI, a team that defeated us down in Indianapolis last year in the year season finale with a big second half. And they beat us, I think it was 74-64, 84-74, I forget which, but 10-point win. Confidence, I think, had to be high going into this ball game.
Well, I think the confidence was high, but we knew that this is a good basketball team. Their record really was not indicative to their level of play because they did the same thing that we did. They went out and played an awful lot of really good teams on the road, including Iowa, a Big Ten team who they went overtime with at Iowa. So, you know, we knew they were a good basketball team. This was not, they had just beaten Oakland by a significant sum the 2 nights before. They were 5-8, I believe, right. But, you know, they're 5. It's the same problem that we have, is getting good teams to come to your gym sometimes is difficult. So they had all 5 of their home games were against teams that were at the same level, and the 8 away games were all upper echelon teams, Big 8, Big 10, those type of teams. So we knew our confidence was high, but we knew that they were a good basketball team. They also got some upperclassmen leadership. Their best player far and away, who was, you know, Chris wrote on the board beforehand, he does a lot of the scouting reports, he said this is probably the best 4 we've played all year, and if you think about that, that's a mouthful considering the competition we've played against, including Batiste from Notre Dame. This kid has the ability to elevate. She can shoot the ball from anywhere from 15 feet in. Her only Achilles heel, probably the only thing that kept her from being recruited by Big Ten teams, was she doesn't shoot the 3 very well. So she can rebound, she's 5'10". We knew we had our hands full, and we did.
Yeah, and who you're referring to is a senior for IUPUI named Tiffany Kaiser, who came into the game Tuesday night averaging over 18 points a game. She just had a career high 32 points against Oakland on Saturday. So, but the game started, and the team started out well. IUPUI got the early lead. We came back. We went on a little bit of a mini run, and Amy hit a 3-pointer at the 10-minute mark, and that put us up 6, 19-13, and things looked good. And all of a sudden, things went bad, because over the next 6 minutes they outscored us 18-2, and they took a 10-point lead. And believe it or not, we didn't know it at the time, but for all practical purposes, the game was over.
That was the winning margin. Basically, that was the winning margin. The difference that they made is that right at that time they came out in a man-to-man, and they got right up in our face man-to-man. I mean, they were intense, and they played hard against us. And I don't know whether Coach knew that. I don't suspect she knew that was our Achilles heel, as much as she was just trying something else because she was frustrated and trying to figure out what was going on. When teams really get aggressive on us defensively, our young kids falter. There's no other way to put it. They don't know how to get themselves the space yet that they need to shoot, and it really shuts down the offense. You talked about the movement in the centenary game. All of a sudden, the movement doesn't happen because they end up standing around and they're easy to guard, and because they're tired of fighting through the screens or fighting around the screens and the other things. And so whether it was by accident or whether it was by design, she made an excellent coaching move there, and it took us out of the ballgame.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know we were talking about it on the radio. It seemed like on the offensive end, when they made that switch, not only did our players stop moving, but they were bunched awfully close where you almost not only couldn't get a hand pass off, but there was, like you said, the movement stopped and the flow stopped, and they're quick.
Yeah, a couple of those players, a couple of their freshmen, the Kia Hayes kid is really a quick player, and to address that particular subject, that's obviously one of the things that we emphasized from the first day of practice to keep the court spread, and we kept talking about it in the huddles. You got to spread out and come off the screens harder. We run a motion offense, and so there isn't a particular set. You're not going to run particular things. The kids have to read and break, and that when they learn how to do that, it's the most difficult offense to stop. Any coach will tell you that simply because it's hard to scout. You don't know where a kid's going. On the other hand, when kids become flustered, it shuts down, because if they don't make the moves on themselves, I can't go out to them, or I don't go out to them and say, okay, you go here and you go here and you cut off at here. We actually, at one point this year, were so frustrated with our lack of motion in our motion offense that we thought seriously about running a fixed offense, going to flex or something else. We're a long-term program, though. We're building this for next year and the year after and the year after, and if we're going to do that, then we got to get these players used to doing what we're going to do long-term. Otherwise, we sell out on ourselves, and so we chose not to do that for very long.
Well, we fell behind 31-21, and that was, again, within a 6-minute span. And then we made a little bit of a dent. We went into the locker room, only down 6, 37-31. And second half started, a little bit give and go. And about 2.5 minutes in, Maggie Bruning made a layup and a free throw. And that cut the lead to 5 at 42-37. But I think two things happened. Number one, the turnovers. And against Centenary, we only committed 14 turnovers, which was great. In the first half last night, 12 turnovers, and eventually it would turn into 23 turnovers. But then Maggie, and again, someone who's had experience and you're counting on for that leadership at the point, she got 2 quick fouls. And she went out at the 15:57 mark. You had no choice because she picked up her 4th foul. And she sat on the bench for almost 9 minutes. And again, like you say, the lack of experience showed. They kept the pressure on, and they extended the lead, and it just seemed like there was nothing we could do about it at all.
Well, the first half of this year we played without Maggie, and as you know well, Mike, we experimented with all kinds of people and things up to point guard, and none of it was very fruitful for us, and it is a problem for us. It doesn't matter who we put up there. I mean, Courtney is not a natural 1, even though she played it for us last year. She's a 2. She doesn't function real well. She doesn't make great decisions under the gun. She's a scorer. She's not and that's where she belongs, and that's where we try to keep her. Maggie is our true point guard. The other one that we try up there occasionally, obviously, is Jessica. And Jessica is just too young. She's really a scorer, if you think about it. It's one of the things we went out to get this year. We went out to get another point guard, and if we could find another one, we'd go get another one. Because it is so critical at this level, just because of what you pointed out. Yeah, we got it down to 6. We were ready to make a run and to make that game competitive and get right back in it, or 5, whatever it was. She goes to the sideline, and we got our problems. One of the things we're working with Maggie with is control herself, because she's a strong-willed young lady. I've been around her a long time now, and I love her to pieces. She's one of my favorite kids, but and she's a competitor, and if you tick her off, sometimes she'll react to that. She's the only player we've had in 2 years here that's got a technical herself, and she did that in the first game, yeah. And so we've had to tell her to quiet it down and to back off a little bit, but But you need that fire in the game. More than just the ball handling skills, you got that fire that says, we're going to compete here. I'm going to compete. And so everybody, if I'm going to compete, you better get in and compete with it. And that's so critical to us with the youth that's here.
Well, final score ended up 81-64, and I know on the radio we talked with Chris last night in the post game, and I said to him, I said, you know, sometimes numbers can be misleading. You would think we were 50% from the floor. We were 50% from three-point range. We hit 71% of our free throws, and we out-rebounded IUPUI 29-28, and yet we'd lose by 17. And I think the main reason was, number one, the 23 turnovers, which they converted into 26 points, and as you alluded to, when Maggie got her third and fourth foul, having to sit her down for 9 minutes at a crucial time when we could have made the comeback and we didn't. But 81-64, kids are back to earth, so to speak, but at least they're home for the next 2 games. And let's talk about the upcoming game now, Saturday, another game that we're going to broadcast on Channel 56, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I can tell you the 2 best teams we have left on our schedule are Texas A&M Corpus Christi and probably Lipscomb. Those 2 teams are pretty good basketball teams. So we'll have our hands full again on Saturday. You know, we want to go out and compete, become better every basketball game. We're not putting our future on any one basketball game. This is a team we can compete with. I mean, this is not like playing Minnesota. Or not like playing Notre Dame, or not like, you know, it's not that level of competition. But they are good. I mean, they shoot the basketball well, they've got some big people inside, so that's a very competitive basketball team. So, you know, we're going to go in to do the best we can do, and I think we can walk out of there with a W, but we got to play. We cannot play soft. We can't have a soft part of the game any place. We can't have an 18-2 run and win.
We wish you well. And I appreciate you coming in. I know you got to get over to practice, but we wish you well coming up Saturday, and we'll talk about this game next week, hopefully. And let's see if things get better for the blue and white.
We hope so.
Head coach Bruce Patterson of the IPFW women's basketball team has been our guest. We thank Bruce. We thank the 3 players who appeared this week, Ashley Elmore, Lindy Carey, and Maggie Bruning for coming on. As always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW Athletics. Quick program note, if you're watching this program on Wednesday night, Friday, 7 o'clock, IPFW volleyball begins. They're going to take on UC Santa Barbara, 7 o'clock. Join Kelly Hartley and me for that broadcast. Saturday, watch Bruce Patterson's women's basketball team as they take on Texas A&M Corpus Christi, tip-off at 1 o'clock. And then on Sunday, the volleyball returns. Again, IPFW and Santa Barbara do battle. That game is going to be simulcast on both Channel 56 and Channel 33, with the first serve coming around 4 p.m. So if you can't get out to the Gate Center to see IPFW Athletics this weekend, tune in to College Cable Channel 56 to see all the action. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Again, thanks for tuning in. Until next week, this is Mike Moss saying have a great week and go Dons. Been an interesting season to say the least for IPFW men's basketball. And on this week's edition of Mastodon Spotlight, we get the head man, Doug Noah, on board. Talk a little bit about the team and what's been going on, not just in the last week or so, but throughout this entire season. We'll also get a chance to talk to Bruce Patterson a little bit later and look back at last weekend's women's basketball game. It's basketball on the menu this week on Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next.
Properly inflating my tires burns less fuel and saves me money on gas. Yeah, I'm saving Mother Nature from pollution, but more importantly, she saved me $11. Ow!
Environmental defense. Get green. By keeping my car regularly tuned, I save money on gas and repairs. That also means cleaner air. You know, feels good to help save the cash, planet.
Environmental defense. Get green. For more tips, go to getgreen.com.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Moss. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I said a moment ago, it's been a unique season of sorts for basketball here at IPFW, both on the men's side and on the women's side. And we're happy to have back on the program. It's been gone for a little bit, but then the team's been gone most of the year. But we're happy to have back head coach Doug Knoll. Welcome back.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be back here.
You sure you know where you're at? This is Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah, we've been back for a little while, but we're hitting the road again today. So it's been quite interesting with our travels and our games, and everybody's upbeat. The guys, I think, are playing at a high level, and we need to get Rick back yet, Rick Wyan, who's been injured for about 5 games, and that'll help our depth a little bit inside. But for the most part, I think we're really looking to finish the season, the last 12 games, very strong. Hopefully have a winning season in those last 12 games, and basically that's our goal.
Before we talk about a couple of games in particular, since the last time we had Joe Pachota on, let's look back at the season in general. I know you and I were talking a few moments ago about the RPI rating and how we're moving up the ladder, so to speak. But your thoughts on the season so far?
Well, you know, I'm very excited because we've got a great group of kids. They're working very hard. They go to class. Our team GPA was just under a 3.0. David Simon, our 6'10 center, had a 4.0 in chemistry. Jim Kesnick, our other 6'10 wing, power forward, had almost a 3.8 in architectural engineering. Kyle Thrasher had a 3.8 as a freshman. We had 6 players over a 3.0, so we were real pleased, especially since we missed so much class being on the road the last 2.5 weeks of the season. But you know, the guys are upbeat. We'd like to get Rick back so that our depth is a little stronger inside. But you know, when you play a top 20 schedule in the country and being a first-year Division I program, you know, you can't look at the win-loss record as success or failure, because if you do, you're going to be a failure. So what we have to look at is we have to look at all parts of our program and which direction we're going to monitor, you know, are we succeeding? Are we playing at the highest level possible? Now, Mike, I really believe there's probably 3 games that we gave away this year. I mean, we had those 3 games back, 6-12. Still doesn't seem big, but it's a lot better than 3-15. But 2 of those games were really early out of the blocks. One was Cleveland State, one was Florida Atlantic in the BCA Invitational. And when you take 6 kids into that tournament that's never played college basketball before, you know, we just had to get a feel of, you know, what our team was all about. And we had the lead in the last 2-3 minutes of that game and couldn't hold it, and that shot our confidence a little bit. But we've played well enough to stay in the game with some of the big schools. You know, last week against Morehead State, we lost 86-73, but we were tied at half. We were down only 2 with 3:42 to go under the last media timeout. They miss a free throw. We have an opportunity to get the ball. We don't get it. They kick it out to it for a 3, hit it, and now instead of having the ball down 2, we're down 5. And then they do the same thing 2 more times. And on the road, you can't do that. You've got to rebound the basketball. You got to defend. You got to play higher than the other team plays. And we'll have to do that tonight on the road against Chicago State. So. But we've seen a lot of positives. In the Morehead State game, I look out in crunch time, we got 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores on the court. Tonight we're going to start 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior. So, you know, we are building. We are trying to get a little more depth, and really that's the key right now is our depth or lack thereof. But in the next 12 games, it's going to tell how resilient, how tough, how good this team wants to be for not only these 12 games, but for the future.
And we've mentioned this many a time, not just this season, but last season as well. And in order to get your name out there, you got to get on buses and airplanes. Do you think at some point, maybe in late December or early this month, that maybe that the kids hit the wall in the sense that they were traveling so much?
Yeah, this season was really kind of a difficult season, and we didn't plan that. I mean, we were working with Wyoming and Utah. Number one, I played at Wyoming for a year, and we wanted to go back out there. And number two, Utah and Rick Majerus is a Reebok team as well as we are, and we've both been on board for quite a number of years, and it was good to get out there. But we tried to play them the year before, and it didn't work out, and all of a sudden late in our scheduling process, they both called and said we can play. And then we played Oregon State last year, and the coaching staff at Oregon State went to New Mexico, which is in the same Mountain West League. So they called us, and of course Chancellor Wartell graduated from New Mexico, and his mother still lives out in Albuquerque. So it was a good time to get out there. But then Colorado State called and said they had an exempt tournament, and this was late August. So we jumped onto that tournament and ended up playing 6 Mountain West teams. So the travel was a lot more than we'd anticipated and a lot more than we'll have next year. But the guys have gotten through it pretty good. We missed a lot of class the last 2.5 weeks of school, but fortunately we got a good group of kids. They go to class, they planned ahead, and they really came through with flying colors. And the other part that we just touched on a little bit ago, when you said the RPI, for a lot of people that don't understand that, it's a rating percentage index, and it really monitors how you're doing against bigger teams so that you don't get penalized like you do when you get beat by a Vegas or a Utah or a Wyoming or a Nebraska. But if you play them well on the road, that really helps you. And right now, this week, we were 256, and there's 327 Division I teams, and we're number 327 as far as getting into Division I. We're last. But our guys have played well enough on the road. They've played well enough at home. If we win tonight, Mike, we'll be 4-2 against teams that are what we call on our level, or teams that are kind of a low major team, and that tells us that we're progressing pretty well. We've got to go up to Chicago State, and we've got to play for 40 minutes, and that's a tough place to play. But I think we're ready, and this will be the start of our last 12 games. What the RPI does is they take your opponent's or your strength of schedule, your opponent's strength of schedule, how much you lose by on the road or win by on the road or lose by at home versus who you're playing, and they throw it all into the computer and it spits it out. And it says we're moving up. So, all in all right now, if we really finish strong, it's going to be a great year for us. And I can't overemphasize the group of kids I have to work with right now, and our coaches has just been phenomenal. We've got another great group coming in. We only lose 2 seniors in D'Angelo Woodall and Brad Knoll, and we look to have maybe 7 new kids next year because Keon Henderson's coming back off a red shirt. We're going to sign 4, and then we want to bring in 2 walk-ons yet. So our depth is going to be a lot better next year.
I got to ask him, just the way the schedule worked out, with the exception of BYU and Air Force, you were, and you termed the phrase earlier this year, I think, Mountain West East. Briefly, if you can, Doug, talk about what it's like. That Mountain West Conference is not a bad conference. You got a lot of good teams. San Diego State, Utah,
Wyoming,
New Mexico,
Colorado State,
and I'm missing
San
one.
Diego State.
Yeah, there are 6 teams you played.
Yep.
Who's the best of the bunch?
They all have their strengths. What was ironic last night is I was going over Chicago State scout, watching tape, watching a little Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and then stayed up long enough to watch the tip-off of Utah UNLV, which is exciting because we played both teams. We played at Vegas where the game was, and so you go back and you sit there and you say, not quite a month earlier. Actually, this month, January 2nd, we were there, we were playing, we lost by 12 to Vegas. We outscored them in the second half. We outscored Utah in the second half, 35-30. And it just makes you really feel good that, you're playing with these teams and you were there. It's hard to say who's the best because they all create their own problems. Maybe the best team is the one we didn't play in, BYU. That'll, wait to be seen. But the most athletic was Vegas and San Diego State. They are very athletic, very good up and down the floor transition teams. I think the best basketball team, the most skilled team, is probably Utah. They're not the most athletic, but they really are skilled. They understand. They're hard to play against because they defend so well. Vegas and San Diego State will let you back into the games, as we've seen. And San Diego State really jumped on us, and we weren't ready to play. And they got a 29-6 lead, and then we cut into it and got it down to about 14, I think. But all of them are very good. And what's ironic is, I was just on a Mountain West radio show yesterday because they think I'm an expert now in the league. They asked me to talk about all the teams we've played and go through the list and give my impressions, exactly what you're doing, of who's good and whatever. And up and down the line, the teams that we played. And what's funny is New Mexico beat us the worst, and they're probably the worst team in the league. And part of that is we didn't play well. They had a player that got paralyzed a game before, Sin-Q Carey, and they brought him onto the court in a wheelchair. He's since regained, his feeling, being able to walk. He's going to have surgery, but there was a real emotional game for him, and then they jumped on us, and we didn't respond very well, and we just didn't play well. And then we go to Wyoming, who was the defending league champs, and played great, lose by 11 there, lose by 12 at Vegas. And the Vegas announcers, the TV announcers, just couldn't get over how good our team was, how tough we played, how tough our schedule was, and how much we competed, and that really makes you feel good. And so that's why we're moving up in the RPI, and that's really our gauge to say, hey, our program's going in the right direction. We are making strides, and we're doing it right now with 10 players, 6 of them who didn't play college ball last year. And, it's really frustrating at times because of lack of our depth, but it's great that our kids are competing and playing at a high level, and that's good. So I can't really tell you who's the best team is. You'll have to wait and see. Utah did beat Vegas by 3 last night at Vegas. Wyoming, I think, would have been the best team, but they lost their best player 2 games after we played them, Marcus Bailey, blew out his ACL. And he was just a great young man. In fact, I played with his dad at Wyoming. And so he played in like 92 straight games, started 92 straight games before this year, and it's just really unfortunate that he's done for his career as far as Wyoming goes. I think they would have had the upper hand, but he was their heart and soul.
Got a lot more to talk about men's basketball, as Doug alluded to. A couple of games were played in the last week and a half. Big game tonight, another game is coming Saturday. But we'll talk about that and much more when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
I can listen.
I can cook.
Good. I can coach.
Kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
I can drive.
I can paint.
I can dance.
A little of your time can make a lifetime of difference.
I can read.
I can help. You can help. Call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313 to find out about community drug prevention programs.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
It is more than a trial by fire. It is a rite of passage, a challenge to join the elite. And if you succeed, if you can master your fear, outsmart your enemy, and never yield even to yourself, you will be changed forever. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I helped turn my child's public school into one with extended hours, 6 days a week year-round, filled with loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One with medical and dental services right there. A school where students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. Turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how.
Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
Well, welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. On the menu this week is basketball. We're talking right now with the head men's basketball coach here at IPFW, Doug Nolan. Doug, let's put Mountain West Conference aside for a minute, but we almost put it aside. I want to talk briefly about the last two games that your team has played, and one of them was finishing that long road trip out at Utah. I guess first and foremost, did Rick Majerus take you out to eat any place?
Unfortunately not. We couldn't hook up. He was pretty busy, but we had a good trip out there. We got a little delayed out of Cincinnati, flying to Salt Lake City, and got in fairly late. But we went out on a Thursday night because we had a 1 o'clock game on Saturday afternoon. So on Friday we had a practice, and then the guys asked me if I would mind if we did the scouting report after practice. We were planning to do it after dinner on Friday night, and I said, no, not really, but why? And they said, well, the Jazz are in town, and it's only 3 blocks away, so all the guys wanted to go to the Utah Jazz and the Miami Heat, and some of the coaches did. I stayed back and watched some tape and worked a little bit, but I did have the TV on for the game, sound turned down so I could see a little bit. But some of our guys got to go to the Jazz game, and some of the coaches, and that was, it's great to do some of those things when you're on the road and traveling. We played the game at 1 o'clock and hung in the first half. Didn't play as well as I'd liked. Really looked like some deer in the headlights at times, but they were very physical. They went 6'9", 6'10", 6'10", 6'11", and 7 foot. Now our two kids, Dave Simon and Jim Kesnick, can match them, and I thought probably were better as a tandem, but we didn't have the depth factor that they had, and that's really what hurt us. But then the second half, we got a little more comfortable. We started being the aggressors and ended up outscoring them 35-30. They really took out their starters probably with about 3-4 minutes to go in the game, maybe less. So we really felt good about the fact that their 8 or 9 kids in the rotation played the majority of the second half. Even though they were up maybe 20 at half and the intensity waned a little bit, I still thought we played well. So that was a good road trip. We had to catch a flight real quick about 5:10 after that game. Flew back into Chicago. We got in about 10 o'clock in Chicago. Bus back here. Got back here about 2 in the morning. Had practice Sunday, and then Monday noon took off. Had a practice Monday morning, and then Monday noon took off for Morehead State. And then got down there Monday evening, didn't practice, had a scouting report because we did practice here so we could catch a couple classes, and then played the Morehead State game on Tuesday night.
And though you briefly talked about it in the last segment, you're in that game for all the game.
We were. We were in the game pretty much the entire game. We shot 60% for the game from the field, 50 from the 3 and 90 from the line. We really played well. The problem was, Mike, we took 41 shots for the game. They had 66. That's 25 more. Part of the reason was we had 23 turnovers and they had 18 offensive rebounds. And when you couple those two things with the 25 shot differential, it was tough to win. But we had our chances. We didn't come through in the end. And again, we've got to get tougher as a team, especially in the red zone, in the paint, down the stretch of a game. And I'm confident we will. And now we have some winnable games here in these last 12 games. A lot of the teams, probably 10 of them, they're comparable to us. So we're going to see what these guys are made out of.
As you said earlier, as we're taping this show on Tuesday, and shortly, in a little while, you and the team are going to get on a bus and you're going to go to Chicago. And you're going to play the Chicago State Cougars in the Mid-Con, a team that you defeated twice last year. Any thought of overconfidence? They've lost 7 in a row, and they've won only 3 games this year. And you think that maybe in the back of their minds, that maybe some of the guys are thinking, well, we beat these guys twice last year, and they've only won 3 games this year. Are you concerned about that as a coaching staff?
Well, I hope not. I don't know that our guys have anything to get overconfident about right now, although we're playing fairly well. We want to do the same thing every game. We don't want to make a game too big, and we don't want to make it too small. We don't want to sit here and say this team's really good and this team's really bad. Everybody's good, okay, and everybody can win if you don't come to play. And that's the things that we try to instill in our kids. I guarantee you, if you show up you play hard, you compete at a high level, and you're ready to play, I guarantee you that you don't know if you're going to win or not. But I guarantee you'll lose if you don't come to play. And that's the things that we try to sell them on. You know, there's no guarantee you're going to win no matter how good you play, but if you play bad, you're probably guaranteed you're going to lose. And Chicago State's no different. I mean, they create some problems for us. They're pretty much undisciplined. It's kind of like park ball, street ball. They throw the shots up, they go get them. They've played better at home. The majority of their wins are at home. They play much better there. They're a little better than last year. They beat Northern Iowa at Chicago State. I know they've played a lot of teams strong. Valpo pretty much hammered them on Saturday, I think 80-48, and they had a 29-point second half win over them as far as the second half goes. But we can't go in too confident at all. We have to look at it like, you know, we're a team that's won 3 games, and we can't take anybody lightly. If we do, then we're more foolish than I think we are. We have to go with a high level, know that we have a good shot to win if we play at a high level and play smart. We have to take some things away from them. They're very athletic, but if we get them in a hurry, they take bad shots. They're not a great perimeter shooting team, but they will go rebound the basketball. So it's a great challenge for us tonight, and I really look forward to that. And then Loyola Chicago coming in Saturday for us, having a home game, the Ramblers, and I think a great opportunity for us to play well again, and who knows. I'd like to think we got a great shot at getting 2 wins this week.
Don't have too much time left, but I want to throw a couple of names out, and I'd like your thoughts on how they've progressed during the season. The first person is David Simon. He seems to be coming into his own, and got the volleyball out of his system, and he's playing some very, very good basketball.
I don't know that there's too many big kids that, you know, can play or have played as well as David has this year. I don't know a team that we got ready to play against that wasn't in awe of Dave. And I don't think Dave knows how good he can be. We've got him through this. And you got to know Dave's personality. He just got a 4.0 in chemistry, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful young man. We're very fortunate to have him on our team. He's just the greatest you know, player that you could have, but a person. You know, I can't you know, say enough about him. And you know, for as good a basketball player as he is, he's so much better as a person. He's just learning. I mean, this is the first year of college basketball, so the sky's the limit for him. And you know, his personality is one that we like to refer to it as, you know, he's a little soft, but he's just mild-mannered, and he's nice Dave. And we say you can be nice Dave off the court, but we want you to be mean Dave on the court. And I think the breakout game really was UNLV out in Vegas. I mean, he had 23 points, 11 rebounds, and dominated their post guys. And I don't know if he plays like that, too many guys in NCAA Division I basketball, high major or not, that can handle him. He's so big and athletic. When he runs the floor hard, when he's aggressive, when he's tough, he's a heck of a player. When he's not, and he goes down to their level, like an Aquinas game where he has 2 points and 1 rebound and fouls out or gets in foul trouble, you know, he's not very good. So he's got a choice each game how good he wants to be, and that's been exciting with him. I mean, there's no doubt we've got him for another 2 years, and we're just really excited about him.
I think I've got time for 2 more players. First one you mentioned to me yesterday, he's going to get a chance to start tonight, and that's freshman Tyler Clevenger.
Yeah, Tyler was first-team All-State in Indiana, and you know, Tyler can play. He knows that, but he had to adjust to college basketball and the point guard role. Tyler is what I'd refer to outside the hair like a John Stockton, okay? I mean, you know, one of the guys you wouldn't pick up first at the park, you know, because he just doesn't look athletic or not, and he's not. But he's very smart. He plays from the shoulders up. He knows how to get into gaps. He can kick the ball to our spot-up shooters. He's a great shooter. He had 8 points in the second half at Utah. He had 15 against Morehead State. He knocked down the first 3 threes he took at Morehead. He had 9 at half. He's really starting to play well. We're going to give him a shot. You know, D'Angelo's still our heart and soul. We still need a lot of things out of D, but he's played really. Tyler's played really well. D's had some subpar games. We haven't given up on D, but Tyler's earned a starting spot. And again, the guys have to understand, Mike, you know, starting's not it. It's who's finishing. And but everybody has an ego, and everybody likes to hear their name announced and run out. So right now, that's good for us in a way that, hey, all 5 starters are back next year, starting 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores. But Tyler hopefully, and Dee's really helped him this year, which is great. So hopefully he's coming on. Dee's going to continue to play well, and that really gives us, on top of those 2, Brad yet at the point, and really gives us a solid nucleus.
I got less than 30 seconds, but the last person I want to talk about is Brad. And maybe it's not fair in only 30 seconds because I want to get him on before the year's over, but the contributions that he makes, not just as coach's son, but as senior, as someone who came here and started, and now he comes off the bench in a leadership situation.
Well, Brad's just done a tremendous job, and he's just steady Eddie. He's not going to wow you or get a lot of points every game, and I know he's closing in on 1,000, and I hope he makes it. He's been the heart and soul of our program, along with Dee, for these 4 years, and it was great to see him bust out and get 11 points and hit the game-winning 3 against IUPUI a week ago or so. And I'm real proud of him. He's going to graduate in May. He's getting married in August, and he just stays with it, doesn't complain about anything, and we've probably stretched him about as much as he could be stretched playing Division I, and his best level would probably be Division II. But he's there every day. You can count on him, and that's been the great thing with him. And I think it'd be great to have him on and talk a little bit about life and what he's looking at. But he really brings a lot to us, and I'm hoping he finishes the next 12 games at a real high level.
We wish you well. Have a safe trip to Chicago. We're looking forward to broadcasting the game Saturday here on Channel 56 with Loyola Chicago. And then you go back on the road next week to play at Middle Tennessee State. But good luck in the week ahead, and we will see you shortly down the road.
Thanks, Mike.
Doug Noah has been our guest, the head coach for IPFW men's basketball. We'll take a break, and then we'll talk with Bruce Patterson and talk about women's basketball here at IPFW. And we'll do that when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Hey, I got a filet of sole and a cracked crab for Mr. Studied Higher Math back in school and now can order expensive lunches and charge it to the company.
He's in a meeting. I'm his never studied algebra, calculus, or any other kind of math. Now I'm stuck in this dead-end job assistant.
Can you sign for it?
It's about the only thing I'm qualified to do. That and answer phones for Mr. AP Calculus and number theory expert with the big office upstairs.
Have a good one.
You too.
May he bless you and keep you. May he grant you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for coming. I'll see you all next week, and please be careful going home.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time now to talk women's basketball here at IPFW, and we welcome back to the program head coach Bruce Patterson. And I know it's been a long time since we saw each other, Bruce, but we had what I'll call an interesting basketball game last Saturday. Where should we start? Where would you like me to start? You want me to bypass it altogether?
No, I like to talk about 35 minutes of the 40. I'm happy with that. Unfortunately, we didn't play 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes of the second half very well, and we went from a lead to 10 points down and found ourselves fighting the rest of the time to try to get back even. And I thought we did a great job of that. Had an opportunity to win the basketball game towards the end. Should have won the basketball game, quite frankly, and we have found a way to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Well, for those of you who don't know exactly what we're talking about, the women's team took on Texas A&M Corpus Christi last Saturday here at the Gates Center, a game we brought to you on College 56 Sports, and they came into town with a record of 9-7. They had a win at Lipscomb on Thursday night, and I guess from what I understand, talking to the coaches, they had a lot of weather problems. They had a snowstorm in Nashville, but they were somewhat confident. But I know you and I talked about the fact that they were going to be one of the better teams left on the schedule, but if the girls apply themselves, we can come out with a W. And things looked good early. We had control of the basketball game for most of the first half.
Yeah, we had, I think we had control of the first half completely. You know, there were a few minutes here or there where they made little runs on us after we had run out on them, but that's typical in a basketball game. From a control point of view, though, I thought our level of play was better than theirs. I thought we shot the basketball better than they did. We out-rebounded them in the first half. We outnumbered them every category that you had, including points, and that we had outscored them by a point. Unfortunately, games aren't just played for halves. This isn't the CBA where you get a point here and a point there. You have to total it up at the end, and we came out the second half, and must have been a real inspirational speech I gave, because we went from 1 up to 10 down in a heartbeat, and that was the story of the basketball game, because after that it was a fight, and the ball game ended up 7 points, but really it wasn't a 7-point game. It was just a bunch of fouls at the end. It was actually a 1 or 2 point game.
Yeah, and we stop and think, it was back and forth. They had the lead most of the second half. We tied it twice at 54, at 56, and then with 3:04 to go, Ashley Elmore made a bucket, and that put us up at the end, 58, 57, I believe it was. And it gets down to nutcracking time, and I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't, and if I apologize if it's inappropriate. We had one chance, and you and I talked about it after the game Saturday. We had a glorious chance to extend the lead, and unfortunately, Amy Gerald's, she made a great defensive play, had a steal, but she missed a layup, and that was with just under 2 minutes to go. And it stayed 1 point until the about 1:40 to go. And then, for some reason, the refs called fouls on us. I'm not going to blame the refs, but in the last minute 40 seconds, Corpus Christi made 10 out of 12 at the line, and up until then, they were 9 of 20. And that's where they won the game, hitting the free throws in the last just under 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, actually, though, in fairness to Amy, I know Amy was crushed after the game, because I don't think there's any secret. It's a big secret to say that if she makes that layup, we win the basketball game. We're up by 3. We stay in our normal defense. Everything kind of stays kosher, and I feel very comfortable with the fact that we win the basketball game. But in fairness to Amy, I mean, Amy had a 3 not more than 10 seconds prior to that, 15 seconds prior to that, that rattled in and out. If that one goes down, you're there. You know, we came down and we got stripped of the basketball out in front, which I thought was a big error on our part, and just where we got a little casual with the basketball, that was a big error. There were a number of things that took place during that minute and 38 seconds. Not all of them Amy Gerald's miss of the
Yeah, I don't want to put any blame on that.
because I thought Amy played a pretty decent basketball game, and I don't ever like to, after a game, point to one player, one kid, because the game is a lot of different things. But there isn't any question, it broke our heart, it broke her heart, you know, and I honestly believe it had it was like, oh my gosh, here it goes again. And if there's anything I think from a coaching staff that we did that was maybe a little too aggressive this first year, was the scheduling that we aligned for this year. Put these kids through a brutal battery of games that extended from November through all the way through December, not only with the level of the talent, but taking them on the road. And unfortunately, I think they've got it in their minds that they're not supposed to win at times, because frankly, we're playing better than our opponents. In 4 of the last 5 games, we've outplayed our opponents. At the Wright State game, we outplayed our opponents, did the very same thing at the end of the basketball game, did not finish the basketball game the way we should. You know, we've outplayed, as I said, 4 of the last 5, and here we are with 1 victory out of those 5, and that's a shame. I don't, you know, I like to blame it on youth, but these kids are getting older, and they're supposed to have been through this war before. Right now, I think it's a mental condition, and we got to overcome it.
Well, in what little time we have left, let's talk briefly, if we can. A busy week, several days up ahead. It's Tuesday as we're taping this. Tomorrow night, Cleveland State comes to town, 7 o'clock tip-off at the Gates Center, a team that you played twice last year, and though they won both games, I know the one here at the Coliseum, we had it for a good chunk of the first half. Briefly talk about Cleveland State, and then we got two more.
Well, Cleveland State is, last year at the Coliseum was the worst 30 minutes of basketball we had played, other than maybe the Indiana State game this year. It was a game where we just did not play well. We threw the ball all over the gym, and it was embarrassing because, as you remember, at the 10 minutes into the basketball game, I think we were up by 12 or 13. We had a big lead on them, and then just for some reason decided we were going to throw it all over. But that was, it was a ball team that really didn't have a lot of talent on it, and we relied very heavily on certain things. We went up there later in the year. Actually, it was one of the last games of the year, and frankly, played very well, competed with them, but their size just took over because they were and they are huge. I mean, they'll come in here with probably 4 kids that are 6'3" or better, that they play a lot. And they just wore us down after us leading most of the basketball game last year. So it's going to be a test for us. They are not as good, for example, as Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They're not as good a basketball team, but you have to play well. I happened to be sitting here listening to Doug when he was taping, and he made the statement, which I think is very appropriate, that I can guarantee you, if we go in playing as well as we can play, we can compete with everybody left on our schedule, and we can beat everybody left on our schedule, bar none. I don't care who it is, we can compete with them. On the other hand, if we don't go in and don't play so well, then we can lose to every one of them. And we could be sitting here a month and a week from now talking about a long losing streak if we're not competitive. One of the teams on the schedule is Texas Pan Am. And they were 0 for 11 about 2 or 3 weeks ago, went to Nebraska and beat Nebraska. And you kind of go, where'd that come from? But unfortunately, when you're playing at the Division I level, every one of those kids was a Division I level player, and you got to be careful because they all can beat you. So you have to go in and compete, and that's one of the things we're trying to learn how to do day by day. We're a better basketball team than we were in November. A lot better basketball team. I don't mean just a few points. I mean a lot better basketball team. On the other hand, we aren't good enough to take nights off. And like in the Texas Corpus Christi game, we only took it off, in my opinion, 5 minutes. But in that 5 minutes, we went from 1 up to 10 down, and that was a ball game.
Well, that one, and I know we're out of time. I can't go into too much more. But Friday night, you go back on the road and you play Eastern Illinois. And then next Monday night, you're back home to play Youngstown State. Tough to play these 3 games in less than a week?
Well, we got a lot of that. That's the problem with being an independent. You don't have the luxury of saying, I'm going to schedule 2 games a week and I'm going to play them on Tuesday, Thursday, especially once you get into conference season. Because now all these teams are playing conference, they're really doing you a favor, if you will. Cleveland State, they are one of the few teams that says they'll play us twice during the conference season, which I'm impressed with that. He probably thinks he can get 2 wins. That's probably why he did it. But most conference teams don't want to do that. And if they're going to do it, they're going to do it on their schedule time. So you have to do it. We actually have one time this year where we play back-to-back games. We play on a Wednesday night and turn around and play a Thursday night. Is that ideal? No. It doesn't give you preparation time, but you have to take what you can get right now.
We wish you well. It's going to be a busy week, but hopefully things will turn and we can come out with a few W's.
We got the potential to do it. I love these kids, and soon they're going to start giving this town and this university a number of wins, whether it's this year or next year or the year after that. You're going to see a lot of W's coming out of them.
Thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having me.
We've been talking with Bruce Patterson, head women's basketball coach here at IPFW. We'll take a break and talk with one of Bruce's players as senior Tiara Dudley joins us, and that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resource Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Excuse me. I can't seem to find these anywhere.
These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me.
What did I do?
We just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time now for, and I know you may get tired of me saying it, one of my favorite parts of this program, the chance to speak to a student athlete here at IPFW, and we get a chance to say hello once again to a lady we had on last year, member of the women's basketball team. We welcome back senior Tiara Dudley.
Hello.
In essence, and it sounds crazy, and you know I'm crazy anyway, I want to pick up a little bit where we left off last season. You've had to make some changes this year because you've got some new personnel, and for 3 years you had to slug it out underneath, and this year you're not playing the 5, you're playing the 4. What's that adjustment been like for you?
Well, it's been great that I can actually play people near my size, so that's been a plus. I think for the most part it's been, it's been a great asset to the program. I mean, I don't mind really, banging and, inside at all. Even some of the floor players that, I've been playing are still 6'2" and 6'3", so, I just can't seem to get away from them. But I think for the program, it's definitely been a plus to, get, some quality centers in here. I mean, centers that, can actually play, and with the athletic ability that that V has and that Ashley has. I mean, even Kelly has, really, really grown, and, and I think, if she keeps working at it, she'll be a great, center. So it's lifted a big burden off my back, but not only has it, helped me, it's also, like I said, it's done very, very well for our team.
In your opinion, what's this season been like? Or is there one particular adjective you can use to describe this season?
I would say, well, I've been known to say this is definitely a learning experience. I think this is a growing, period for this team. I mean, having as many freshmen as we do, me and that I'm the only senior, I think this is definitely a rebuilding year, and trying to get players in here, trying to get players that will be able to play together and play together for years. I mean, playing against girls that's been playing together for 3 and 4 years, they have that chemistry, and it gets difficult at times when you're trying to learn a person's style of play and trying to know players, in and out, what they're going to do. I mean, other teams already know. You've been playing with a girl for 2-3 years. You know what she likes to do. When to give her the ball, when not to give her the ball. And things like that. I think with this team is definitely a rebuilding year. And once we get to that stage where we can have girls that's here and have girls that's going to stay, have girls that's playing together year after year after year, I think this is going to be a great team. One thing about me being here for all 4 years is that I've seen a different team probably every year since I've been here. I promise. I think me and Amy, because Amy Drills, which is who is a junior as far as basketball, but she's actually been here for 4 years. She redshirted, is the only person on this team that actually has been here, since I've been here, and been here through, all the trials and the, tribulations and stuff like that. So I think if we can establish a solid team that can stay together for 3 and 4 years, I think it's going to be a great program.
I think I've got time to ask you 2 questions. First question is, what one ingredient does this team need to get over the hump and win some of these games that we've had chances to win but haven't been able to do so?
I think it's definitely the intensity level. I think with any team, you don't have to be the fastest team. You don't have to be, the best shooting team, the most athletic team. But if you can just have, the intensity or the desire, the heart, you can win a lot of these basketball games. A lot of these basketball games that we have that's been close, and maybe, we just lost that intensity for a second and let this team get back, catch up with us, or we'll just lose the lead for a second and then we lost it and we can't get it back. And so this team has to realize with us being so young and maybe going up against teams that as far as athletic ability that we don't compete with, we cannot lose our intensity level for anything. At any point in time in the game, we have to keep it the same. We have to have more intensity, more heart, more desire to win than another team. And I think a lot of the games that were close that we lost, we could have definitely won.
One more quick question. What's the future hold for Tiara Dudley?
Well, I believe that I think whatever I do, I know, and I'm the type of person, and I'm a very determined person, that I will definitely be successful. I wouldn't mind coaching, maybe, hey, if the opportunity comes. I mean, I love basketball. Probably any player that's played for this team and that's been around me knows the type of person I am. And if there's any way, shape, or form I can help anybody, I'm there. I'm a side coach anyways for everyone else, trying to help people, and especially this year, just trying to really, get these girls prepared for, what they're going to see in the future, and, helping them out in any way, that I can. So I think the future definitely looks, promising to me. And I think after this season, I'm just going to kind of, just relax a little bit, spend, a lot more time with my son. And so that's probably just kind of chill out a little bit, take some time off.
Well, thank you for giving 4 years to IPFW basketball and IPFW athletics.
No problem. I had a tremendous time here. I appreciate everything that everybody's done for me, coaches, whatever, and I'm very, very glad that I made the decision to come here.
Thanks again.
No problem.
We've been visiting with senior Tiara Dudley, the only senior on the IPFW women's basketball team. We'll take a break, and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
I'm Richard Dean Anderson. On Stargate SG-1, we discovered that the Stargate device could be used to explore an endless variety of adventures. Your device for endless adventure is a good education. No matter what your goals might be, you'll go a lot farther if you don't drop out. So keep your options open. Stay in school.
Step out of the car. Open up the trunk. Check inside. What's going on? Hands on the car. Bingo. Got it.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids, who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Again, thanks to our coaches, Bruce Patterson and Doug Knoll, and also to Senior Tiara Dudley for tuning in, for coming over today and talking with us. Don't have much time left. A couple of quick program notes. Again, Saturday, men's basketball at 1 o'clock. If you can't make it here in the Gates Center, tune into College 56 as Doug Knoll's team is going to take on Loyola of Chicago. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Coach Arnie Ball's Volleydons come back to the floor, and boy, what a great match they had last Sunday. But they're going to take on St. Francis of Pennsylvania at 7 o'clock. Not a TV game, so come on out to the Gates Center, support the team. And then next Sunday at 4 p.m., another men's volleyball game that will be on TV, both here on Channel 56 and on Channel 33. George Mason University comes to town, first serve at 4 p.m. And then Monday night, that's what we just mentioned with Bruce Patterson, the women's team plays host to Youngstown State. A lot of things going on here at IPFW this weekend. Come on out and support IPFW athletics. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. As always, thanks for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. We invite you to come back again next week. But until next week, this is Mike Maas saying, have a great week and go Dons.